doing it yet because it won't start until 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But those are your link and your key that you have to have in those two spots. And what does your camera look like if you turn the camera around?
Nothing like a WebEx meeting to show me the bags under my eyes. Let's see. Video
How much
settings
you
maybe?
turn it around? Ah,
Oh no.
oh no, we're upside down. Well, that doesn't help us
Uh,
much. Self view. Well, turn.
Maybe it's got to do advanced. Nope, not that. There's your own view video.
Automatically select camera. Take off mirror. No.
Maybe.
I'll let you just play with it. And if you have, I've got to get to my meeting.
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
And
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Camera rear. Hold on.
does
Okay.
it show? How much does it show?
Not enough. I'll have to put it back. I'll just put it right there.
Okay.
I think it'll.
Yeah, just it shows over and they just so
Cool.
as long as they can hear on audio.
Well, they're good.
So as soon as I get out of that, I'll be back over here.
Very cool. Thank you.
Let's get to you tomorrow. I got one other thing kind of pushing in the morning, but I don't want to be. Appreciate it. Yeah, you can go that way. I'm sure it's out there. Okay. Thanks, man. Yes, appreciate it. Think right and moving about that one door.
Hey there, how are you doing? Oh, I know. Let's do that. I'm like, man. I know, we're traveling this weekend. I was like, yes. We took the dogs, which was like, I- it was a terrible decision. We don't never find ourselves saying that was cool. Never do that again. It was really stressful for them. I didn't realize how stressful it would be for them. I thought it would be fine. To Asheville, it was her daughter. So we're in her apartment, and like they love her, you know, they're familiar with her. But like the travel in the car, like I had to ride in the back seat with them, and I usually don't, you know? And so they usually can't, but my dog Wendell was like shaking the whole time. And I was like, oh, he's terrified.
He did.
I had no idea.
Riding the car.
But we don't, yeah, we don't take him that many places.
Yeah.
We take him to the vet, to the park.
Yeah. So it was,
Yeah, so yeah, yeah.
He's like, this is the longest ride ever to the vet.
Yeah, he had cancer last year, so he was really,
Oh,
he's my cancer survivor.
No,
So yeah, he is really nice. Yes, yes, he
What kind
is.
of cancer did he have?
Yeah, I don't know that they told me that it was, they did tell me it was it was just like, they just call it like some kind of like cancerous tumor. But it's, yeah, a mast tumor, a mast cell tumor.
Wow.
And so and it was right near his penis. And so we
Okay.
ended up having to go to UGA because it was a difficult location.
Okay.
A lot of,
There's a lot of working
things.
parts down there.
Yes.
Yeah.
and so to keep that going. So, yeah, I can't believe I found myself at the UGA veterinary oncologist, but we were there and we put the dog through that and had to do a little chemo and he had
But they were
surgery.
and nothing came back.
No, nothing yet has come back.
That's great.
So,
That's
so
great.
it's the thing, like, we never know, you know, like if that's really gonna take.
Right,
you know,
right.
But.
I know my girl had, well, probably one was probably skin cancer on her nose. And then teamed up with what they, I think biopsied originally were mass tumors kind of on her. And in the end, I mean, there were a lot of things that, I don't know what it was in the end. We had everything removed, but they said that, you know, the mass would, hers came back. But then she just, it kind of went into a.
Was it, how many years was it? That's, what they said was like, I mean, the good news overall was like, so he's like 5 when we started this. He
Oh,
was, he was a young dog and
Yeah,
really
yeah.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we removed it. It's a very difficult area. But they felt good about it. And it felt good that they captured like all of it.
Okay.
And, what they said was it's unlikely it'll come back there.
Right.
But you know, he's the kind of hound dog where like more could develop.
Okay.
But in
Okay.
different parts of the body, like it's much easier to get them
Right,
off. You know,
right.
and so that Yeah, but it didn't heal well, like I swear they had like the newbie do the suture, it was a really long suture. And so like the suture didn't heal very well, so
He wasn't.
he was in do you know the Zen
Mhm.
collars? He had a Zen collar and a cone on for like over a month. And he was
Wow.
the saddest.
Because he could still, I'm sure, I mean, he could get there with his.
With just either
his-
one
Yeah,
on,
he could get
get
down
there.
there.
Yeah,
Oh.
but both of them on, he couldn't.
Wow, no, what kind of dog is he?
He's
Just
like,
kind of
he's like a walking
Okay,
hound,
okay,
mixed with beagle. You know,
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's a hound 57.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
I had a hound 57. I was like, she would climb a tree. If the tree was like that much. like,
Yeah, if there was a squirrel in
That
that,
dog
he
would
would
be-
walk right up.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you have another dog as
I
well.
do, and she's like a black mountain cur. So she's like
Okay.
those tan dogs with black
Yeah.
muzzle, but she's dwarfed. So she's 80 pounds, but she's like this.
She's like a low rider.
Yeah.
Kind of like a low rider.
She's a giant dog that's a low rider, and she's hilarious. And actually, Miss B Buttercup is her name, and Miss B did better on the trip. Like I thought that she would be the one. She's kind of high need when she's at the house,
Okay.
but she was actually a trooper. Like we went on a good 4 mile hike. She led the whole way. You
Okay.
know, and so, and Wendell was the one, like, we went to a brewery afterwards and Wendell lost it, you know, everything in Asheville's dog friendly.
Right.
I didn't have a friendly dog.
Right.
So Wendell
right.
like lost his mind and like almost killed this poor boxer. I'm like, I'm gonna go right now. I'm really sorry, y'all. We're from out of town. We apologize. Yeah, so
That's
we-
how we, my friend gave me, she had an unexpected litter of Weimaraner puppies.
Oh my God.
And gave me one for Christmas because we had lost our girl Nova back in August and we were not ready. You know,
Yeah.
like, and we knew we weren't ready, but
Yeah.
we knew she needed to get rid of them. So
Yeah.
we.
I've had that dog before too.
Or
Not a
just
Weimaraner,
just a
a red tag.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was like the guy that was a subcontractor, and he's like, well, I need to hunt the mom, so I'm either gonna ditch the pups on the side of the road unless you want one. I was like, I'll take one.
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, no, she would just still have it. My friend has like 8 dogs right now because she was not expecting a litter to come. I think her husband let them play when they should have. But yes, hound dogs are a different, oh, she's a different breed.
Sorry, texting my renters.
Oh. And you guys are all in at across from, on Barber Street, right?
All in, renters are living upstairs.
Okay,
It's
okay.
actually Lauren that's working for a hall.
Right.
And then her boyfriend Nick, and they live together up in the upstairs apartment. And it is our office, but we're, you know, we're slowly moving in there.
Okay,
So it took
okay.
us a while.
And so it will be your office and then will it be your
Yeah.
kind of, I say studio or work, like, you know, for you to do any woodworking or anything
No,
like
well,
that?
it'll be like a shop, so it'll be
Okay,
like, yeah,
that's what I
it'll have shop capacity.
Okay,
for
that's
sure.
what I was.
Yes, yeah,
searching for.
kind of put everything on wheels.
Studio, putting everything on wheels. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making myself a to-do list.
I know. That's what it's,
So it's just all clinking around up here.
we, slept on an air mattress at my daughter, Maggie. And it was lovely, but it's been a long time since we slept on an air mattress. And like, well, I feel old. I was like, oh, I am tired.
I don't know what happened to me. On Saturday, we were like, we're gonna get out and do yard work. It's gonna rain. I was like, I'm gonna move all these pots around. I'm like, I feel great. The next day,
It couldn't move.
my lower back. And then I must have gone to sleep. I think I like slept funny, so my neck, I was like, what happened to me? And I don't know, it's like 24 hours. I went from feeling like awesome to pretty much broken. Yeah, I was like, I just don't. And I think I'm realizing that I just don't bounce back as quick as I used to. You know, like,
Absolutely true.
I've really hurt my back every time I move something too heavy, but I
Yeah.
just rebounded a lot
Yes,
quicker.
yeah, that is absolutely true.
Yeah, it was like, pick me up. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't.
So, I guess anything I want to know from, so, just before Mateo was gonna turn in, I was trying to help with the last bit, but it really fell on Mateo's. I don't know if he turned in.
Okay.
He's here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do well.
So Mateo, did we turn in, the, grant offering that we had, or did we just put it on the shelf?
No, didn't have enough for the federal one.
Yeah,
Oh, do you have a rocket book too?
yeah, I love these.
Very cool.
Yeah, my friend,
I just
turned me
got one.
onto these.
What
Yeah.
is it?
It's a rocket book, so it's a notebook and it's a pen, but this pen, like you can erase it all. But you also like, so if I mark it, and you can use them much more sophisticated than I do. I take notes at my meetings and then I can take a picture of it and it emails it to me.
That's like a PDF if you
Yeah,
want. It's
yeah.
really cool.
So it can, like, if your handwriting is neater than mine, it can transpose it into type. You know,
Oh,
so if I
wow.
was to print, it could make it into type, but I just have it send me, so then like, half my community tree council stuff, like, before I had the rocket book, like, half of it was notes that I took.
Right.
You know, so this, and also for like our job, like, I had so many legal pads, so this
Right,
eliminates the legal pad one. So then it can all be on the computer. Yeah.
And you take it the washcloth and
Yeah.
put some water on it and wipe it off.
So
And then-
cool.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and then on the computer, like the files, like for CTC, like it can all go in that file, so then I can
Yeah.
refer to it, like it's easier for me to keep up with it that way.
Wow.
And I do still print out stuff, you know, but like, so it's changed like this, like by the end of the year, like I would have like 2 folders, like filled with
right.
this. And so I just got it a couple months ago, and so it's really changed like how
So
I work
cool.
with it. Yeah, I love it.
And then
And
you
the main
always have, because that's the thing,
Yeah.
I'll go back to my notebooks from, I'll be like, what?
But also
That's
it's
my
like
third notebook.
the grocery list, but also like the grocery list.
Yeah.
So even with the grocery list, like sometimes I'll just like take a picture of it with the phone instead of like, I don't necessarily upload it to
Right.
email. And then I'm at the grocery store, like, so Michael, my husband always he puts his list on his phone, but I never did that. So with this,
Right,
it's
right.
good. It's just, so I use it primarily for note taking.
I'm actually gonna go get my
Yeah.
rocket book.
And it has a lot of usage, and I really do
And
enjoy
it's
it.
awesome, isn't it? So you can go through how many pages and then go back and start
Right.
erasing them as you need.
Yeah, and I think like sometimes I have to keep the notes for a couple of weeks or a month. you know,
Right.
Like when we were working on this project, like I kept those notes because I needed to, it helped me to physically look at them. But
Right.
then when we were done, like I erased them all. So it can be there, it can be there for like a month or so. And then it can be there just for a day. So,
Right.
You know, and then whenever you're ready to do it and start over, you can start over.
That's so cool.
And they're not expensive. You can just get them off Amazon. It's like,
It's like $20.
yeah, it's like $20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many, by the time you buy 4 four of your
Yes.
notebooks, you're at
Yeah.
$20.
Yeah, and I didn't need to have, like, I have from previous things, like I have a whole file folder full of like all these pads and
Right,
notes and
right.
things, and so, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll ever go back to that.
No.
Okay, so we're gonna, the work we did for that, we're going to repurpose for the
Trees
state.
across Georgia, yeah. Which they're pretty excited about it.
Okay, I
They,
think that will be good.
they've asked me, like I went to a conference on urban forestry in
Mhm.
Dublin, Georgia, and Seth
Mhm.
Hawkins
Yeah, I missed that.
approached me and was like, hey, I heard you're wanting to plant stuff, and
Yeah,
like, when are you gonna send that into Trees Across Georgia? I was like,
When
"Well,
is that
probably
deadline?
September or
Okay.
August."
Okay.
and
so
we,
you're not sure.
and we're
Okay.
more, and we almost have more pieces already. So
Yeah.
it gives us a little bit more time to work with the housing authority. And I haven't had time to talk to you since you met with Mike, like, I have this question all the time, the confluence of trees and solar. So for these particular kind of developments and redevelopments, it's honestly, I mean, like, especially like for the North Avenue redevelopment, the height of the buildings, the tree planting is a non-issue as far as interfering with the solar or even interfering to any access, and even if they end up with parking lot solar, we're not going to be able to plant in a way that would inhibit them being able to do some kind of campus level solar if they wanted to.
Yeah, it'd take a lot of growth. I
Yeah.
mean, they'd have to be fully
And
mature.
and it can be trimmed and we can pick species and all
Yeah.
those things. So like because I know that with the schools, they've been asking about that and like there's hardly any overlap, and we're aware that both those things are wanted, so that we won't make a planting plan that would infringe on future kind of ideas for the property. Like, we wouldn't infringe upon, we're not gonna infringe upon parking, you're not gonna let us. And we're not gonna infringe upon, different energy source or things like that.
And that's-
If they have a, basketball court or playground, we're gonna be mindful of how that works. Those are areas actually where it'd be useful probably and have some shade, but we'll keep in mind what they're doing with the property.
And that's an anticipating and hopeful that they will be able to adopt some solar, or they already.
We're working on it.
They're already, okay, yeah.
Well, Mike Wharton did say that he thinks it's probably gonna be, they'll do like, they'll do changes to the buildings first, because that's the low hanging fruit. For
Okay.
The highest return on investment.
So they're gonna do efficiencies. So now, on my side of this, Mike and I go around and around with this all the time. Efficiencies are needed, and for all of our lower, and like a lot of our housing stock isn't even ready to have, like solar, like, they don't have like they don't have any interior insulation or,
Right,
windows or
right.
crap. So there is a lot of, and the land trust is the only person doing this, but there is a lot of, abatement kind of, energy efficiency sort of things that have to happen. But for someone like like the housing authority, there's no reason why these things are not a parallel track. Like bringing the buildings up to some kind of efficiency level and prepping for solar, that can be a parallel track. Mike and I go round and round because, he doesn't want to, he's, and honestly, I think it's a generational difference a little bit. And I'm not that much younger than Mike, but, and I'm coming at it different because he's been working on this much longer than I have. But it is something that is like, he worries about, overwhelming people so that then it'll be too much and they won't do it. And I honestly think that we are moving, if we're not parallel to that, not being thinking anymore, we're beginning to move beyond that, where these are accommodations that we know have to happen. This is the progress that has to happen. So it's okay. I mean, I think we can figure out a same time track.
Yeah.
But and honestly, personally, I think we better be. But I think institutionally we can make that happen, because different people think about those different parts, and anyways, all that. Okay, so that is good news that is shelved, and we'll work with the trees across Georgia.
Is it pretty much the same, or like very similar application and all of that, just
Way less.
Way less, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can get, Mike can just there'll just be a teeny bit of language to retweak and like the letters that we got. And so Mike sent a letter, and the housing authority was working on it, but honestly, I think they ran out of time. So we can give them, so we can ask
I
them.
think he sent me something.
Okay,
I
great.
think they
Okay,
made one, and it was really good.
Okay, good. So we can use those for this, we'll use that for that. And then it gives us time to really think about like, the amount of planting, starting. And so are we gonna start with like one campus and then roll that out? How much money are we gonna ask for? Will we do, they've requested Rock Springs, so do we start with Rock Springs and then see if we can take that concept and fold it onto other properties they have, or?
I think we totally could. I mean, with the amount that we would be able to ask for, $300,000 per year for 3 years.
It sounds like a lot.
I mean,
I think we can, I don't think that's out of our capacity. If we formulate a good plan, I think we can, I think our group could manage that capacity. And it would definitely, set something before, we've been rebooted, and in the reboot, it's been sort of a slow start as far as like getting us using this money. And before the reboot, the way that this was structured, there was a lot of fundraising within the community. And so this is a different structure for the money. There was grants, but what the focus wasn't grants. And I think this is an okay like shift of funding, and we can still do fundraising, but it would allow us the freedom to do more education. Like, it would really free us up to not have to be asking the community for funds, because it's such a small amount, for what, now that planning has gotten expensive, the planning and maintaining is so much more expensive than we can get from just, a small fundraiser. That it would really free us up to do more of the tree ID and, get people out there learning about how to plant a tree. And I just,
And
I think it would be a
point
good
for our, for people to kind of know what we're about. So
Right.
what we, I think it'd be a lot of exposure.
and the current climate of like this money coming in and these state and federal entities asking communities, to use this money, like, they're not gonna last forever.
Right.
I mean, so I think we should,
Yeah.
we should use it, like,
And now, is
that will change.
Is that 300 for the tree plant material, the installation, and then the watering?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And it could be,
And
for- it
It could be for other things,
I mean, the state,
preventative maintenance on some of the
Yeah,
water.
yeah,
treatments.
okay, so we can extend it to, okay.
Mhm.
so I mean, that's another huge advantage of the state versus federal, because the federal
Yeah.
wasn't they don't allow for like paying a person. They're really careful about like not paying a person. They want the community's government to pay that. And that's hard for us. And we haven't even been able to receive funds. So if we get the state money, it's a little bit freer.
Right.
Yeah, and Mike Warden is gonna try to find a way for us to get a tree spade.
Oh, nice.
Because this funding, both, federal and the state, the pass-through funding, I don't think they really want to buy equipment.
Yeah,
Like, if you can rent it, they're wanting
Okay.
to rent it. But a
And
tree spade would make things.
Just for getting a whole,
Yeah,
just for getting it prepped.
that'd be huge.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
honestly, I mean, that could be used, the city could use it all over the place. I mean, that would be a piece of
Exactly.
equipment that could be
Yeah.
very useful.
I really want to start a nursery again. Like, we had one in the past, but
So,
I would
you know-
really like to start one again.
So, when I first came on, like, that's what I was all hot to do, like, that first six
And
months.
you're
I wanted to do a literal tree bank. I mean,
Mhm.
Rodney pushed me to pivot that to be like funding, like
Right.
a tree bank fund. And I do
The
think that,
feed and lieu stuff.
yeah, the fee and lieu, and
Yeah.
I do think that's very good, and we should be doing that because that's how our community should grow. But originally, I wanted to have, a nursery, and he just thought like, funding was the issue, and like, honestly, I mean, I don't know if it's wrong, but like, even right behind landscaping, but it's a failed subdivision. It's a subdivision that never went in. It's like, there's like a road that's stubbed in for sewer. So the watering could happen, and so like that land could be a nursery. And
they can just like kind of grow stuff that then the city would be able to
Yeah.
use when they
Yeah.
need.
Put up in right of ways.
Yeah. So Rodney never saw the value, I mean, like versus like his two concerns were that we are somewhat supportive of smaller independent nurseries and purchasing.
Right.
I didn't think that would necessarily exclude us necessarily buying things from them at certain times. But, having ours, like, I thought it gave us a sort of resiliency. And then the other thing was the maintenance of it, like the property to have it and the maintenance of it.
Right.
It's not that hard.
I think so,
Drip
too.
irrigation
Once you
on a
hook up with
trailer,
drip, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
We
hard.
can kind of.
And if it's gravel,
Sit and forget
and
about
if
it.
it's gravel, but the initial investment of if it's gravel bed from trees, that just setting it up. And then it seems like it's kind of like a crock pot, like set it,
Yeah.
you could get in there and really,
Yeah.
yes, that would be good. And I love the idea also of including like the young urban farmers, like have them be stewards as a training, like back to making a certificate program where they get
Oh,
some
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
training they can take and say, they can go to a landscaper after they graduated high school and say, hey, I've done this with, this.
Yeah.
You have experience.
Yeah, I've got
Have
experience.
you been able to talk with Athens Land Trust? I've tried a few times.
Oh,
and-
I talk to them all the time, but, and they call us because they're, because of our relationship, just building wise with, but yeah,
I've never gotten to speak with anyone about this.
So, I see Tawana Maddox, she does the sort of outreach and student stuff. I see her at different things for school stuff.
Mhm.
And Heather Benham and my husband talked, she just called him, they're looking for someone to do their young urban builders. I mean, they need a builder, and they're like, yeah, we don't have anyone, we're not giving you anyone, and it's not gonna be us. I know, everyone needs workers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last year I reached out to, I can't remember, it wasn't Carrie Ritzler, it was whoever, it was who took Carrie's place and sent him an email and said, hey, we think there should be a young urban forester. And they were like, great idea. But that's just like, so they were positive, but we didn't get any further than that. But
Who, I was like, do you, Diane's still with the conservation.
Diane, what's your last name?
I don't know, I have to look on their website.
Well, what do you want to talk, would you want to have a
Just
meeting?
getting a letter of endorsement or support.
That may come more from their
The-
affordable housing section, is it maybe for a letter of
Yeah,
support or just over.
It would probably be, I mean, Heather would do it probably. you
Yeah.
know, And so she would, I mean, or she would let, she'd let me know who'd do it, but it'd probably be Heather that would write a letter. So you want a letter of support for the housing authority, like
Yeah,
that
for that
project?
planning project. I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, that's what I had, like, kind of like that rough draft.
Yeah.
I put it in there just
So,
cause, but
so you have better luck with Spencer and Habitat, Spencer Fry at Habitat.
Spencer Fry. I
He's
know
also
that.
a state representative.
Yeah,
And so,
okay.
so he can put it on official letterhead, and like, and
Okay.
since he's state rep, that, there's sort of a funding, political overlap of,
Yeah,
so, but Heather, they don't have any relationship, I mean, they don't have any direct relationship with the housing authority, other than they hold the market, they hold the Broad Street Market is now held at Rock Springs. Or like absolutely imploded. And so they can't have it at the West Broad School anymore. So they have it at Rock Springs. And so
Okay.
that's the extent of the relationship they have with the housing authority.
Huh.
It's not nothing, I mean, they have
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
that relationship where they have.
But
the
that is
market there.
something.
Yeah. So they have that relationship, they have the market, but they don't collaborate like housing wise or land wise, or there's no collaboration between them as far as like what the housing authority is doing for their residents and what the land trust does for their homeowners.
Yeah.
So it's a different, the Habitat and Land Trust are more parallel in what they are doing. And Habitat's made a brilliant pivot and they're starting to build rentals to pay for the houses. And so they've done,
And Habitat for
Humanity.
For humanity. Oh, okay, they've started to build rental houses.
yeah, so
Maybe.
they've done a couple, so there's rentals like, the Miriam Moore, like right off Broad Street. I can't think of that high school that's it's the academy or what's it called? It's like the Rutland Center. It's not the Rutland Center. That used to be. But up on the hill, it's not Athens High, is it?
It's near St. Mary's kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, and they've got like hair salon, they've got like different courses, it's more sort of tech oriented.
Cool.
And it's not the career academy.
It is the career academy.
It's the career. Yeah. So the career academy right behind them, there's this little duplex that is Habitats that they rent. They have a cool little courtyard up behind St. Mary's, that where all the shopping, if you go down Magnolia and you take a right, it's a dead end. If you go up there, there's this whole cool little courtyard of small little houses that Habitat's done and they rent them. And then they did another courtyard thing they've been working on, and those are rentals. But they are doing this so that they don't have to fundraise. Like a lot of institutions are pivoting away from the thermometer, the usual way of fundraising. And so there's still some of that, but really people are starting to think differently about how to get funds.
Right, so then they'll build these, rent them, and then
That money can
profit
go
that
to
they make
houses.
from the rentals, and then they can turn into their home ownership.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. And so I think it's a really good model because
Yeah.
the funding for like a building houses, it's a boom and bust, and it's been very hard. It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
So this would be a lot more stability for them.
Uh-huh.
So then they can project how many houses they can build.
That's pretty.
Right.
And they make it more, like if they get funding, they could do more.
Right.
They can at least do the amount that the rentals will cover. And so I think it's a good idea.
Huh.
So I was really proud of Spencer. I thought
Yeah,
a smart play.
yeah.
That back girl.
Mhm. But we could still set up a meeting, because I think, Mateo, I think if we were to talk about like, the, forester and arborists, like them, like us making a relationship, and the community tree council can be the conduit, or it doesn't necessarily have to be, but making liaison with the land trust, because they have this great connection with the high schoolers that other things don't have. And so we would like to be, like, I would like us to be in there a little bit, like, meeting those, high schoolers who are doing some kind of educational component, or, like I said, for like, if we do end up with a nursery, if we, when we do our plantings, like, we can we'll have those kids,
I wonder how it's from their urban farming and their urban, is that how they got such a good connection with
Yes.
the high school
Yeah,
students?
yeah, the market had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
The young urban farmers, and then they have the young
So it's
urban
like-
builders,
Okay,
and
so
so.
they've grown upon, okay.
I think then, yeah, I think the young urban farmers was
The
first,
first.
and then builders was second, and, oh, I just forgot the name of the, guy that runs the young urban builders. So he's sort of like us, he was a small high-end contractor, and then when he retired, he just he ran that program. But I think he's stepping down, and so that they're
Okay.
looking for someone to run that program.
It's that way.
That's why
I
they
reached out to you guys. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
It was a very, 5 years ago, I would have been appealing to, think about that, but I think when we pivot away from building, we're gonna pivot away from building. We're not gonna build in some other form or fashion.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
he's chomping at the bit to make like camping gear. That's what he wants to do, so that's what he spends all his free time doing.
Oh,
But let's.
I haven't been able to get any landscape companies that want to give quotes for like watering services
Yeah.
after the fact. New Urban Forestry, I talked to Jessie
Mhm.
and she said that it probably wouldn't be cost effective for them to do it. But then I talked to Joe Perloff and he was like, no, we can figure something out. So I think it is feasible. I mean, all it really requires is a truck, a big IBC tank,
So
a
you're talking-
generator and a pump and a hose.
So you're talking for the land, I mean, for the housing authority, if we do that?
Yeah.
So is there, I feel like there might be, this might be a good opportunity also to, maybe we meet with the housing authority and discuss the viability of them building that into their, because I'd love to change their, you think it's not possible? Let's see that.
Well, they'd have to have like watering tanks or something.
Well, I
there.
mean, like, I'm thinking about like, if we start doing this and we start sort of meddling in their planting scheme, that like, I'd love to sort of like open their minds to think about like, they have a really old school kind of mow and blow,
Yeah.
operation right now.
Lowest bidder possible for
Yeah,
sure.
and they have to, all that. But if we change their mind about what it's for and how to maintain it, maybe something they can incorporate. But I don't think, I mean, maybe it's something we discuss with them, like we initially figure out a way for it to be done, and the establishment's the most critical part.
Yeah.
But if something that they could take over, so like if Rock Springs, we are signed up to do it for Rock Springs to ensure, the best success. And then, but if we do another campus, then we would say like part of that would be like, you guys learn to take this on and incorporate this into your, so maybe we would start with us doing it because we understand the efficiency of it just makes sense, if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna start within the next year. But by the time that things are established and surviving, that may be enough time for them to sort of grasp like how this goes.
Yeah.
But, because we're gonna have to be where like their guys don't, cut right up to the trunk,
Oh, yeah.
and
But
we're-
this is their maintenance.
right, and so,
Yeah.
and they, not different than other kind of apartment complex things, like, it's sort of like all third party, they have this third party
yeah.
contract, and like, they just send them the bill every month, and they just assume that it's
Oh, yeah.
done, it's not anything anyone has bandwidth for, and so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because when we
I
were
don't think
out,
there's much communication between them and their landscapers.
and so I do wonder, like, within their department, like, besides Charlie, like, he put us in touch with What was the other person's name who we've been really, who he wants us to communicate with was, not Jonathan.
Is it the new CEO?
No, it's the person that is, it would be, it's the facilities person. Charlie is development. Charlie does, so he does with their, he's the development person, so the builds, the land buying, the building, the plans, the subs and contractors. So, I haven't met her either, though. I would like to.
Trying.
Yeah, we were than that. Let's go. For some reason, my phone isn't showing me all of the things in my IRA
Your folder.
grant email stuff.
And so none of their plantings have ever, they have no irrigation at all.
No,
Yeah, nothing.
it's not how they think about it.
Right, right.
And it's been, and the other thing is like, you know, a lot of what they have is sort of inherited. You know,
Right.
Even the people that have been working there a really long time, these campuses have been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, since the 70s.
I think that Rock Springs.
And there's been a little
They're-
rehab. Yeah, I think Rock Springs, Broadacres are probably the oldest.
Okay, okay.
There may be some other, I think like over by Ants Court, there's another little string of some pretty old ones right over there. And those may be private now. But,
The ones near Creswell and
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
across the street from it, I know. they're
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
old.
yeah.
Yep.
And so those have to be from the 70s. So
Yeah.
they've inherited all of, it's
Everything,
more,
yeah.
everything's sort of left over, you know, it's not like there isn't someone who, this isn't someone's job within the administration.
Right,
You know, it's sort of
right.
like, they think, like, so Charlie, when he's doing development, as he develops things, he thinks about it in like terms of no more than like the planning terms. So it's you know, the 10% coverage, 10% conserve.
Mhm.
And so like,
Which is minimal.
right, so then after that, you know, he's thinking about it from a building point of view. So
Right, right,
after
right.
that, it's never thought about again.
Again, yeah, I wonder, gosh,
So this is a good
if we
opportunity.
had all that money, they could, but I guess then who pays for the water, you know, like if.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Well, I think once they're established, 3
Shouldn't be that
years, I don't think we really.
Yeah,
need to
that's
have
why-
anything watering.
No, okay, no long-term.
Yeah, if
Irrigation
they've got a
farm.
large soil volume and a large like open soil area, it should be fine.
Okay.
It's just the right amount of water, as long as rain.
Right,
is coming, we're not
right.
a big drought or anything, but.
So then that'll be in the planning. And honestly, if we make plantings that require like babying longer than 3 years, we probably won't be successful with this.
Yeah.
Right,
You know,
right.
We need to make sure there's something that can succeed, you know, in the.
I would assume our maintenance costs are gonna be as high or higher
Yeah.
than the planting
Yeah.
cost. And I think it's probably acceptable. I don't think CPC really has enough bandwidth to take it on. I know Phil and Sean spent a lot of their energy watering some of the other
Yeah.
plantings that they did. And it seemed like they do not want to do
Yeah.
that again.
Yeah,
So,
and we're scaling it up a bit to where it's not like
Yeah.
volunteer individuals can take care of it. Like it's something we have to include in the budget for sure. Yeah.
I mean, tree diapers would be a big help as well.
Like gator bags, is that what, or are they different than gator bags?
It's different. So
Is it-
gator bags you fill yourself, and then the tree diapers have like a polymer that's in them. So as it rains, they fill,
Mm.
and then they slowly release it back.
It's actually that weird stuff that's like in a diaper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
Okay, oh gosh, I don't know. Okay.
Is there any possibility, just brainstorming here, but like, so like, is it something that if it's funded, can landscaping, like, like for road trees, can it be? Like if we're doing this, if the community tree council is doing this, which ostensibly is Athens-Clarke County making this partnership. Is there a way to fund it through ACC where, and this money, I mean, you know, I know we need money all over the county, all over Clark County for maintenance and watering, but I don't know if our money could be used to pay ACC to maintain it. So is that a question for Jeannie, or you think that would be?
It would be a question for Jeannie. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I was actually
Figure
thinking
it
of
out.
landscaping and already division. Yeah. I was trying to think of any other contractors that might be just interested, because I guess in the end, we would just need kind of flex, a ballpark figure
Right.
for the 3 year
So
commitment to water.
if landscaping can take on the contract, I mean, I feel like Jeannie could give us a price.
Right,
But
right,
it's only if like, I don't know that they have the capacity to add it to.
right,
They
right.
might, you know, if it's funded, they might, like if we can,
Yeah.
if they
yeah,
can
if
give us
it's
a number and we can fund it.
for, yeah.
Right, but it may be, I don't know what now, if it's funding or labor, but I feel like it's labor that they're, you know, that they don't have enough people
Right, right.
physically.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna ask.
Man, I'm trying to think how we used to do. It's probably the landscape contractor that was.
I know
there.
that Phil, like the ones across the crepe myrtles across the street, like Phil came over on a lot of them, like I could see him from my house.
Oh, and watering them all
Yeah.
over there, just what he was just.
And we
getting
got,
those-
and then, Sean got some of the residents that were living there at the time, they're not there now, to water them.
Okay,
And so,
okay.
and I think Sean personally was like, you know, if the water bill, like if it goes over, let me know. I mean, I think he personally.
Because that wouldn't
That
come
was
from
silence.
their specific utilities, that would just be for the overall housing.
No,
If it comes
if
out there.
they, so each unit, like there is a spigot, that's usually, I don't think each unit has a spigot. I think there's a spigot between two units.
Okay, okay.
And, if they go over their allotted water use, they have to
Right.
pay.
Then they have to pay.
Right.
Okay.
But
okay.
if it's not that big of a deal, like if we let the housing authority know that, like in the past, I did it for Cobham, like Cobham on Hill Street, the
Mhm.
streets that they had. We asked the housing authority if those residents could be allowed to water the trees through last year's drought.
Uh-huh.
Or the year before, God, I don't know if it was the year before. And they said, okay, so they noted so that those residents weren't dinged.
We're, okay,
Okay.
okay.
And I noticed anecdotally, hilariously, like I saw that woman out there, she was like washing her car. And I thought, as long as she wasn't gonna get dinged.
Right.
She used that water.
the tree.
Yeah, yeah, she used that water. And so, yeah. And so, you know, smart.
Right, right. Ah,
Okay. For that. I thought we were very close.
Yo,
to getting
well,
that.
I'm sorry, I think I was out of time and you were like, what's the letter? And I was like, oh, God, I
No,
have
it's
no
okay.
idea how I left it.
I was
but
gonna
I left
say,
it
for
somewhere in that
you,
folder.
even like that last week with the push to get it all in. I have been fighting, strep throat, and then it morphed into a sinus infection.
I think the same
That
thing.
just totally laid me out, and I
Yeah.
was like, I can't do anything. I just can't do anything. So
Mine
I'm mid 30 days of antibiotics to try to knock out this.
it's still with your sinus infection.
It's my fourth antibiotics, and this one's for 30 days. And
A
so-
friend of mine in Charleston, her husband's going through the same thing, and
And
Ayla
yours is like the
Ayla
second
had
one.
last week of school, head cold, everybody did, then I got it. But then my ear was clogged for over a week, I've never had such,
That's how I started. That's it.
I've never had such a.
I know, I went in
throbbing-
for an earache and then like that didn't knock it out and then
And
I tested positive for strep and then I tested positive for strep after the second antibiotic.
Oh, my God.
And after the third antibiotic, I tested negative for strep, but they felt like that it had become acute sinusitis. And now I'm
Yeah.
I'm on like 30 days of antibiotics.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
it's the kind where you're like sensitive to the sun.
Sun, yeah,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, usually I have this like sheen of white.
Right, right.
But yeah, really wasn't
I've
outside.
heard that from so many people that did something similar.
There's some
Eggs
massive superbug going around.
Crazy.
so, Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah, I
feel
haven't
bad,
had
it's
anything with my
Potatoes, like,
sinuses.
but last week we were gonna push to get down, I was like,
I
I
think mine was
cannot
like
get
a
off the
week.
couch.
Maybe the
I'm
week
like,
after, or maybe around that same time, I'm like, oh, my teeth and my head were just, I never get headaches, and I mean, I could feel like it throbbing.
So, I will email Jeannie, and then the other person my email is like Mike's team. I mean, Mike might be able to either get us a subcontractor or manage it through their team that does the sustainability, the parks. Like, we might be able to.
Parks, leisure services
Might be able to, so if we work it in, but like, I'm not, I mean. It's either gonna work or it won't work, and they'll pretty much tell us, but like, I think it's kind of, I like the idea of like making these city relationships with the housing authority. Because I think moving forward, that communication is good, you know, if we have that relationship. But if it doesn't work out, you know, there's plenty of good subcontractors.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody who can.
Yeah.
count on.
I mean, even if the only reason I thought against this is probably insurance reasons, because you probably have to have like insurance for your company in order to be on the property doing any work.
Right.
I was like, I thought,
But
I got
any,
plenty of friends
but there is any, anyone that would have that, like, well, it could work both ways too, like the housing is like we have work comp. So when you come
Mhm.
on to our job site, and you're working on our job site, you're covered. So
Mhm.
the housing authority might have something, they might have like a work comp. Where if you come on, like you're a subcontractor coming onto the property, you're in this umbrella thing.
Oh, we could totally, if that's the case, we could totally find someone that has a pickup truck, and we could say, you know, make a quote, because I've got a few friends that would be willing to figure it out, where we could say, okay, well, get a generator, an IBC tank, and a pump, and, you know, bake that into the cake
Okay,
with an hourly rate,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
get a quote, you know, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a landscaper, it could be just someone with a pickup truck and
Yeah.
the tools.
so I'm putting Mary email, so I'm gonna email, you have our other contact, email. And I'm gonna ask, the housing authority, like if we're looking for a subcontractor to maintain and water the plantings, how are they covered under, like,
Yeah.
how?
What requirements would they
We
have?
need insurance requirements. And do you guys have it? Because I think the contractors they have that come and, so it's, they probably have insurance, you know,
Yeah.
but I do understand for individuals, like it's very cost prohibitive to have, like, unless you're a company like enough or like us.
Yeah.
It's super cost prohibitive, even for us, like it's our biggest expense is our work comp.
When I was a contract climber, I ended up going on like a ghost policy for a while. Then after
Yes,
many
I
years
know
of that, I
that's-
realized that it had it was nothing.
Yes, it's
It
not.
basically has no,
But legally, you have to have it, and people won't hire you unless you. have
Yeah.
it, you know. Yeah, that's, so a lot of small contractors, like ours is not, well, Michael is not covered, so, and I'm supposed to stay in the office, I'm never supposed to visit a job site. And so I am covered only if I stay in the office and never leave the office. But, you know, all our workers and any subs on the job are covered. so
Are covered.
You bet,
in
yeah,
addition to-
yeah, but it's so cost prohibitive to include Michael that, we exclude him.
Wow.
So the contract, it's the most expensive person is the contractor to cover. And
Huh.
so, because they're involved in everything, so we exclude Michael, and that's not uncommon, that's how most small places do it.
Do just,
Yeah.
wow.
That's a wrap.
I heard you on the radio today.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't talk to anybody in the last few days.
Really?
Yeah, what was it
We
about?
play-
Peaches.
Yeah, I did like 6 interviews last week on peaches. so I'm just saving
I
up.
heard the people.
I was
driving around,
in
I was like,
yesterday's
"Oh,
newspaper too.
wow.
Yeah.
I know her.
What are you telling people about peaches?
Well, peach is this iconic crop for Georgia, right?
Right.
Even though it's not a very big percentage of the agricultural income. And we're not the biggest producer.
Right.
California's the biggest, and then South Carolina, and then Georgia.
Okay.
But because they lost over 90% of their crop this year, and it was partly due to the warm winter, everybody's like, oh, our peach is gonna go away in Georgia because of climate change. You
The
know,
answer is yes and no. I mean, eventually things will change.
well,
That's like a geological.
that's like way down the road, because there's a lot of things farmers can do in the meantime. They plant different varieties. and
Right.
Change techniques for how they grow them.
Yeah, changes.
Wasn't it mostly those late frosts that were kind of the big
It wasn't a late frost, it was an early winter. I mean, early into winter.
early into winter?
Early into winter. was
Well,
last-
the thing is, because it was so warm, especially in February, right? It was like the third warmest February ever. And so the peaches got enough chill hours early in the winter that they were ready to start blooming as soon as it got warm. So they bloomed a month early. So the frost came pretty much at climatological average time.
Right.
But it was as if it had happened a month late because the
Makes sense.
peaches were so
They
early.
had got,
And
They've got
so,
and then you
degree
got
days.
with that deep cold in December, they had gotten the cold is that right?
Yeah,
Like, they had
well,
gotten-
it was actually fairly cold in November too.
Okay,
So they had gotten, especially the early blooming varieties, 'cause they
Right.
don't need that much cold.
Okay,
The December cold didn't have much impact on the peaches, more on the blueberries.
okay.
So anyway, so all the, and once one media company gets a hold of you, then everybody else wants to talk to you too. So I talked to NBC Nightly News, AP, and I think the Atlanta Journal-Constitution was the first one that did the story. The AP one was in yesterday's newspaper, somewhere buried in the back. NBC Nightly News hasn't run theirs yet because it got bumped by something else.
Something that was bleeding for sure, it had to
Well,
wait.
no, I think it was the golf thing, the PGA versus
Oh, it's not
LIV golf sellout, yeah.
Hilarious.
You never know. So, yeah, so, and then on Friday, I talked to Alexia, so that would have probably been the one you heard.
Yeah. All right, to wrap up policy before we get started. So, we're repurposing, we're gonna take what we had and repurpose it for a September deadline for state funding.
They're not sure if it's September yet.
Oh, that's
though.
okay, but that's gonna
yeah,
be
we
for
can
early
just say
fall,
September.
early fall, yeah. We're gonna keep talking to Mike Wharton about tree spade and what kind of channel for how that happens. We're gonna set up a meeting, work towards setting up a meeting with Land Trust to just to get to know them, talk about possibilities with kids, them, how, like, we can ask if, like, they, just need to get to know.
Yeah.
Do you have a Habitat for Humanity as well?
I can do
setting
Habitat.
up a meeting?
Mhm.
I think that would probably, from the way you were talking about it,
Mhm.
sounds like that would probably be even more beneficial. than-
Yeah, and Habitat, Land Trust isn't as proactive, but Habitat is very proactively working on both. Well, they both of them would want trees, but, their, Habitat's working on, solar inclusion, and trees. So those combined things, thinking about that all on the same property.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next big thing is we need to look for, maintenance contract, like who does that? I'm gonna email Jeannie and Mike and say, is this any possibility for your departments to take on a landscaping contract if we do plantings at the housing authority?
I can check on that
Okay.
if you want to check with Charlie about insurance requirements
I will.
for aftercare.
I will ask, okay, so this is Mary.
So for me,
All right, and so that's for. All right,
Well, let me know what I can
okay.
help you with.
Okay.
Start with some more.
because, I mean, I do think, like, I know we can get enough to do it, but I think if we, establish something more permanent, then we can create this template. It'll be easier for us to do this template again.
Yeah.
And I feel like nothing's permanent really, like
Right.
it may work this time and it may not work next time, but we'll try for permanence.
I think that the maintenance and watering program could be pretty much, lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah,
once we figured
absolutely.
it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I think that's true.
It's not too tough.
Yeah.
And I think if we were gonna be, if
And
we
I'm not opposed
scaled
to
it,
private, but we'll figure out, what works best.
yeah, if we can scale it, I mean, then I think it would make sense. If we were gonna be doing it other times, then it makes it even cheaper for someone to just say, you know what, I'm gonna make a small little company, a watering company real quick,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
and be able to swing that.
Mhm.
If they know, like, okay, I'm not just gonna have Rock Springs that I need to water, I'll have another property as well. Then it actually really does make financial sense for someone to put the initial investment into a big tank and.
Well, my landscape people, I don't know anyone that has a tank.
I was trying to think if,
Jeremy, I
Roberts
work
has
with
a
mostly,
tank, but
yeah,
I don't know if they,
figured he probably did.
we've been playing phone tag, so
you all?
haven't really gotten them pinned down yet. I even
Yeah,
went over
we're-
their place trying to talk to them when they
and
were there, so.
we are in the height of, not around. So this may brew for a
Right,
month, this
right.
may brew for a month or two, so but we'll start and we'll see how far we get.
Doesn't help that I'm kind of old school and I like talking to people directly.
Yeah,
Email
Yeah.
is not my
well, like I
favorite
said,
thing.
I mean, I just transitioned, yeah. I like a face to face.
Yeah.
We're calling.
Absolutely.
I always tell people, like, just call me.
Yeah.
Just call.
Just,
You can get more.
nobody wants to really call anymore.
I
I mean,
mean,
there are people,
we have to call someone, they don't want to answer.
No.
We do not.
I feel like even now emailing is like, I get, it's like 3 days so I get a response on email. so
Mhm.
Text them.
Howdy.
They're finishing their meeting.
We're done. We're done with policy. We just had to catch up. It's like a firestorm of stuff.
I was lucky because somebody would walk out and I just locked the building, but I turned around and reopened it.
We get it.
I said, there's a meeting
I'm gonna
here.
go refresh my water bottle.
Good. Is everybody?
We'll see. Jesse wasn't able to make it. and
Oh,
I
that.
didn't
Several
see the
people.
agenda either.
Well, it'd be fine with me if it was a short meeting.
We may be.
If we don't have a quorum, we can't vote on it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
Short
it
meeting.
may be the case that we don't even need quorum.
It's
So
been really
have a-
cold till midnight. Resolve it.
Well, usually we don't have a meeting in July because there's so many people gone, but
Right.
if we can't have a meeting in
June,
June,
then we'll need a.
probably. I mean, don't we need to start thinking about replacements for next year? We usually wait until way too late to do that.
We're sort of getting there this year.
Yeah, I know. Well, because of the process, you have to get it through the commission and get it voted on in the commission, and their agenda always fills
It's
up
already
so fast.
Yeah.
Jeannie will be here in a little while. And she's got so apparently everyone on boards now is gonna get an Athens-Clarke County email. And if you're gonna do things pertaining to the Community Tree Council, you're supposed to do it on there
The
now.
official-
Oh, an individual address you're talking about.
Yeah, an individual email. Yeah, and we can set it up however, whatever you want as the beginning part, and then it'll just be at accgov.com.
Well, that'll be good.
That'll be fun.
But it was a check.
I know.
I'll
I'll get it all linked to.
There's probably a way to forward it.
Yeah.
Mine all comes up in the same, like I have to have different email accounts, but it all comes up in the same.
Same inbox.
Because I have
Yeah.
everything shuffled to my Yahoo account because
Oh,
I'd rather, but not everything transfers from
Yeah.
UGA.
yeah.
So I have to still go and check UGA,
Ah.
because some stuff doesn't transfer.
I have to. And it's all just different addresses. but
Yeah,
it's like
that's how I have mine.
Okay, I'm gonna have to hire somebody. It sounds.
So was the door locked out there?
It was not locked. when
No,
I
it was
came.
locked when I came, but she opened it back up
Okay.
because I said, there's a meeting. So she said, oh, okay, well then I'll leave it open. But she had locked it.
Well, while we're not meeting, maybe I should just tell you guys, I've had this idea for quite some time. I only printed out 2 of them. But it's the idea for a planting competition. So for a long time in urban forestry in general, it's really tough to figure out how to plant on private property or how to get that to occur.
Carol, welcome.
Mateo has an idea. It's about shells, about a planning
Now,
company.
see,
Yeah, I've been cogitating on it for a while now, but so
This meeting started at 4.
Yeah.
it does.
Oh,
Or-
okay, okay.
This is
We don't have a
actually
quorum
pre-meeting.
yet.
Yeah.
so-
Okay, and I'm always getting times mixed up.
No, we don't have that.
Yeah.
you shall see.
There's almost always a meeting in here. You can just come in anytime you want.
No, I'm interested in the idea.
Myriadaway is on the way, running late though.
Alright.
So at least we knew that. So
Do we know how many constitutes a quorum?
Isn't it, I thought it was 5, but it's
I think it's 7.
7.
So the
We
voting
haven't-
members too.
We haven't been able to vote in minutes. The last couple of
Last
days.
Well, we did have a quorum last
We
time,
did. We just I
just forgot.
Make it some paragraph.
because we didn't have a quorum at first,
Mhm.
but finally enough
Okay.
people showed up.
Yeah,
Alright.
we'll see when Joe and Sean might show
But
up.
whenever we get a quorum, we can stop and adopt minutes and then we can proceed.
You'll need 2 more.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
No,
just-
No, we're actually, this is actually
this is
Yeah,
all
we're
just
preemptive.
free conversation,
Okay.
pre-meeting conversation.
So I got the idea, there's a big project that they do in India, where they've tried to do water catchment. And they kind of pit different villages against each other, not really against each other, but they award villages based on their water catchment systems. I think it's like $65,000 or $60,000 as an award for first place. And they actually got a really, really popular Bollywood star to kind of be like the host. It's like televised, and they have a big award ceremony every year. But I thought that if we were able to somehow, and I'm not sure who we will be quite yet, I'll have to I tried to go talk to the lawyers today for Athens-Clarke County to see if this would even be feasible for Athens-Clarke County. And if it weren't feasible, it would be through probably like the Eugene Odom School of Ecology, which I have ties with. I graduated from there. I was actually the first graduate of the Eugene Odom School of Ecology.
Wow.
After they changed the name.
It would be.
Yeah,
good.
you know, 7.
It would be, I mean, we don't have a strong relationship. It'd be good to establish, to reach out. The town and gown would be great to have something, to.
Town and gown, huh?
That's the term, right?
Oh, you mean with UGA?
UGA, yeah. So I mean, as far as like CTC and Odom, like sometimes we talk to the Office of Sustainability and sometimes we often have professors from ecology on the board,
Or more often from forest.
more often from forestry.
Yeah.
But I think developing that relationship is really good strength.
I was talking with my old advisor. It was really cool. I went and caught up with her on Friday. I hadn't seen her in like 15 years. But she was very excited about the idea and also thinking about maybe getting a master's student because they started, ecology now has a master's that's for the arts. So it's more dealing with like environmental education. And she seemed to believe that would be the level for someone to do an entire like master's on is creating this type of planting competition.
Who is what's your advisor?
Leisha Boyd.
Oh, yeah.
Misha,
Misha Boyd.
Leisha Boyd.
boy, by Franklin?
Yeah.
So there's.
Oh, yeah, you probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Misha's awesome.
yeah.
She's so cool. I love Misha. But apparently there's a bunch of beekeeper associations in Georgia that are flush with cash and don't know what to do with it. And if we made it actually something where it was like a hefty amount, then people would really get interested in it. I mean, if you could plant $100 worth of plants and have the potential of winning $1,500, then
So I missed the elevator pitch of what's our goal, like what's our planting goal for the private property? What do we want them to plant? Like,
just
what's
to
the goal?
increase planting on private properties. It would be like planting a collection of pollinator friendly plants around a pollinator friendly tree. So,
The top.
oh yeah, that or basswood or black gum or tupelo, it's better name. So there's a lot of potential there. I mean, maybe get Georgia Forestry Commission to offer trees for people.
How is the competition, how do you envision first place, second place, that's what is
Determining that?
is this numbers of plantings per acre?
No, there would be, so actually,
I
so,
tried to read it, but I didn't.
so native versus non-native plants, plant species diversity, specified host plants, planting patch size, the patch's distance to water or agriculture, pollinator nesting site design, conservative well-timed weeding or the lack thereof weeding, I think would probably be better.
Patch size
So
would
what-
be relative to the size of the lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, because like the urban versus suburban lot sizes are substantially different.
yeah, totally. Or just depending on maybe
Yeah,
distance
yeah,
to other
Yeah,
forest.
right, good.
Be
Yeah.
multiples perhaps with a summation of scores for berries.
And then how
Yeah.
long will it take to win? Like a year, you have to make sure your plants survive.
It'd have to be like a year and a half time
Okay,
scale,
a year and a half,
probably.
This is like, Olympic hide and seek with.
I mean, it could be a year in theory, but really, I don't think that would work because then you wouldn't be able to tell mortality.
Yes,
The
right.
planting success on it.
I
Um,
haven't run across
It's
a
too
long,
long,
I haven't
people will
run-
lose interest.
but I haven't, but it seems like bee people and plant people may be the only kind of category people would be like, a 2-year competition for men.
Well, it would be I think it'd be a really good opportunity for environmental education specifically. You going over and being transparent about what all is you're being graded on gives an opportunity for teaching. Having people understand what all pollinators need. And so Nisha gave me a bunch of different names. Also, a guy named Lewis Bartlett, who's a researcher there. I think he's one of the heads of the bee lab, the UGA bee lab. And they were very interested in that and getting all of kind of their people on board with being educators in conjunction with a possible competition.
What if we did it like, instead of like it being a competition where there was a time or a check, we did it like a badge? So that like, if you reach these standards that we set out for this pollinator planting, then you get this special badge award for meeting the criteria that we set out.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of like a competition because you get something and you're part of a, you manage, you're successful, but if you do it like as a system that you meet the criteria, then we wouldn't have to worry about like the time or going back and checking on it. Like when people were ready and they've accomplished it and they would come to you and you could judge it.
I think if we did that, it would be more or less just the people that like pollinators already, though, that want that social cachet, having the badge in front of their yard.
Right.
But really what I'm trying to get at is like, we need to change the culture around planting and landscapes, not wanting grass, only grass.
In terms of the money stuff, because this is like a common theme all the time,
Hey,
low,
we have quorum.
we have the gratuities clause. So money coming from, it's very hard to give anyone money straight out. So, with the Lindentown reparations, we can't give money out. We can build a Center for Racial Justice and Black Futures and donate to affordable, like put something towards affordable housing, but we can't just say, here are Lindentown people, here's 250,000 or $1 million. So this seems to be like that's, I mean, you talk to the attorneys. Yeah, but I mean.
I haven't yet talked to the
probably-
attorneys.
But,
I expect them to say no.
No, because I just went through, but you can't, there might be something where if it's like a public-private, like you got the, you got the.
COFRs or something.
Yeah, you got COFRs in there and it could be, there might be ways of getting it where there could be gift certificates. I don't know. But this is actually, I'm just like, I came from a meeting today on the East Side Beautification Sense of Place and I'm like, oh man, we should get in on that, like that would be inspiration to win.
I think it would have to be through someone else. I was feeling that it may be the case that we would have run into big obstacles, it being Athens-Clarke County, and being able to give out funds for a winter or something. But I think beekeepers associations could probably run it in
Right.
conjunction with us or with Eugene Odom School of Ecology or something like that. But we're not here about this. I'm just bringing it up.
I like it. Yeah, totally want to think about that. And that's awesome.
The school.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of change, they're all on board for changing the
Yeah.
kind of,
And they've
what
got
people on the
the,
team is it. Maybe they could help with judging or something.
And I do think about also like the outreach of how you like changing the mentality. I think is clearly like the most important part of like thinking about like what's growing right outside your door or wherever it is. But like I mean, sort of like outreach we do in the community for other things, like when you're trying to get the whole opinion of the community on something that's gonna happen, like the Prince Avenue, or like it's really hard to reach. So thinking about like if we can crack that, like everybody, like figuring out how to be broad and not just preach to the choir. It's the hardest part.
One more thing on that, I think it's the water department or stormwater or someone there who already has it, like,
The H2 grow.
right, I
thing?
mean, like,
Yeah.
as a new homeowner, I was like, oh, this is great, I'm gonna just take this, follow this pattern.
Yeah.
But I need one that says, like, none of these plants will be eaten by deer.
Or how do we, instead of trying to have, how do we welcome deer? You know,
Yeah.
what can outgrow deer?
Yeah, well.
Nothing.
Depends how many deer you have.
Yeah, I got like a lot of deer.
Well, in
Yeah.
Green Acres, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost had like 3 of them go to the pool.
Oh, they're,
So-
they're around everywhere. You just see
Yeah.
them every day.
Yeah, I literally have one deer. I did.
Oh,
So I'm
this
like between Hancock and the plaza, there's like one deer.
You're in Green Acres, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I live there too. Well, I live in Crestwood, so the same thing.
Yeah.
H2O grow. But does H2O grow, do they give any kind of, do they give plants or monetary, or what do they do in that? So they just give you a guideline.
Yeah,
Got it.
they're working with Koffers actually, specifically to like create kind of like a plug and play.
And I know they said,
Furniture.
and then the water
It's a
bill, they send out
coupon.
coupons,
This is
right?
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Forgot
Yeah.
to bring mine with me to go. Actually.
Right, it's already gone, it's
Yeah,
past
I know.
it, but, next year.
all right, well, who's leading today? given that Jesse's not here.
You know you are.
God,
Already
I'm the
started.
secretary, I gotta write. Actually, I should print out, I neglected to print out the,
You don't need to print out the treasurer's report.
okay.
I look. so I'm familiar.
Oh, I can tell you in 2 minutes or less.
So let's see here.
So do we have
we
an
have a
old
report?
agenda so we know which order to go? It must be in the minutes, right?
Go grab the folder.
That was from last time?
Good.
I don't think I grabbed it.
I think we could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
I think I've been once.
Call to order.
Well, here, I'll run it because I want to get out of here.
And I'm leaving to go to another meeting.
Okay. So we've called ourselves to order. We have a quorum. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you here. What time do you have to leave?
At 20, I have to be at a meeting at 5 o'clock downtown.
Okay, so as soon as we go through some of the little detail police stuff, then you can have, if you have anything to talk about.
Oh,
Um,
that'll be short.
Okay, well, first of all, no, I don't see any other visitors, so I guess we're good. First thing we should do, we don't have a sign-in sheet, do we?
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab that. Sorry, I'm writing everyone down real quick.
That's fine. So did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes of the last 2 meetings? Okay. Did you see any changes or corrections that need to be made?
Think maybe I seconded some minutes that I wasn't here to have done, perhaps.
Well, that wouldn't be unusual. I've done that before.
Most of the positions I've held in the
The
past
spirit
have
of
been
the-
given to me while I was here. So
Right, there you go.
Spirit of Phil, second.
Okay. Well, we'll wait till he comes back with the sign-in sheet and then we'll vote on the minutes. There's 2 sets of minutes because we forgot to vote last month.
maybe that's where.
Could you tell me this sent those out?
The minutes? Should
Well,
be-
Mateo set them up
Yeah.
this time. Jean set them out in the past.
I don't think. I
Or not on that
On that
list.
I don't
distribution.
think you are. I'm looking at the list.
Yeah,
that
so
is
that's,
available.
that's why I haven't gotten it.
Then we should,
Can you add
when
me to
Mateo
that?
comes back in here, we should ask him to add your email to that.
Yeah, that would help me remember the meeting. But there, I was on the Outlook calendar, so
Okay,
so
good.
that's good.
When we get our members for next year, when do they have to be presented to the commission by, do you know?
No, but I can find that
Is
out.
that like October?
I don't know on that. We're not as organized as you think. And that's,
Because every year we run into that problem that we don't have our new members gathered in time to get on the docket for the commission.
are you guys a group that gets there? I'm trying to look, see if there was an email. I haven't got through all my, out of date email. But anyway, do you have to, do yours just get appointed or do they?
No, it has to be approved.
Yeah, but they don't go to interview with the commissioners.
No,
No,
we have our own interview.
yeah.
Okay,
And we-
if
you guys
one
are
of you
fine.
would email me that, or I could try myself to remember,
So,
I could find out because
I'll-
that's. You would think that there was like a yearly schedule that was set up that we just follow, but there's not, and.
I think in the past, we have known that this board had lost that institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Good
everyone
point.
probably who's on the commission's lost it as well, so there you go.
Okay,
Okay. Well, we'll just put that in.
Okay, I will look into that.
Okay, so, anybody, Mary, did you have any comments about the minutes that were sent out? Okay. Anybody want to move that they be, the 2 minutes from the last 2 meetings be accepted?
so
Okay, second? Bill's a second?
Here, and I say,
Okay, and we're gonna do both of the sets of minutes together. I don't see any reason to vote twice, so. Any additional comments? Having seen none, let's take the vote. All in favor of accepting the 2 sets of minutes? Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. That would take care of the 2 minutes, so we're up to date on the minutes.
Yay.
Treasurer's report, I sent out to you in advance. The only change from last month is that we now have an extra 15 cents of interest from our money market. Nothing else has changed. And so, do we need to get that voted on, approved too? I think we have.
Pretty good, yeah. I have one question.
Uh-huh.
On the minutes, there's a PayPal account and there's the money, it's the PayPal account, is that money assigned or is it just in a separate?
It's just in a PayPal account.
Okay, so it's just not.
So it just needs
not
to be
moving into
moved. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Just didn't know if that was separate for a reason.
No, it's separate because I haven't moved. So anyway, I keep saying I'm gonna do it and then I forget about it until it's the day before the next meeting. Imagine that.
that's honest.
That's the-
All right, so, any other discussion about the treasurer's report? All right, is there a move to accept it?
So, but
Bill moves, second. John's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right. Are there any action items we need to think about immediately? Otherwise, I'm gonna let Carol have the floor for a few minutes.
Yeah, well, I'll ask you one to remind again whoever to put me on that distribution list, because I haven't.
She's not getting copies of the minutes.
Any email or
Okay.
anything from this group. Speaking of business kind of things, do you guys know if I'm a voting member or an ex officio, like?
I believe you're ex officio.
I think it's
Okay.
ex officio.
Okay, just to clarify that. And actually, I was kind of curious, just as you're doing this, since I haven't received these, have you all received anything about boards, authorities, commission training?
No,
I've never seen that.
Jeannie is gonna be here soon. She had to go to a meeting, but she should be here soon, and everyone will get an acc.gov or accgov.com email address. So any like community tree council business should be done through that.
So will
it can be
Carol
open
get that too?
records. We've got.
She
a
already has
team-
one, right? So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's also,
There's
I mean,
boards for trainings, like to learn how to do the Roberts orders and like to run a
Yep.
meeting
an open,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't,
Open
like, we
records
kind of
thing.
knew about this from someone at a board telling us, the commission, about it or learning about it at end of year meetings, so, we weren't really aware of this, but I was just kind of curious about that, if you've.
Do they desire, like, is the board training supposed to be when we take on new members and new members would go?
I don't know what's being, I mean,
Can we find out, like? does
yeah,
that
yeah,
entail,
no,
like,
I
that
mean,
we
I
should
was
all
wanting
get
to,
trained?
yeah, and it wasn't clear to me, like, if the trainings add up to an hour and a half or hour each or whatever.
So do we have to be trained even if we've been on the board a long time?
I do
Because
not
we
know.
never
I
have
mean,
been.
right. This is a new thing.
It took me like an hour and a half to go through all the stuff when I had to do it.
Is it online?
Yeah, it's online video.
Oh, it's one of those
Um,
things like UGA always
uh,
have.
Sherry,
Fines,
Sherry
Sherry Hines.
Fines.
Well, we.
Did you have to do it? Does staff have to do it too?
Yeah, I had to take it. I
Okay.
think Jeannie had to do it.
Okay,
But I think now it's possibly, I don't think it's gonna be required, but I think it will be available.
well,
for
I'll
anyone
find,
that's on
that, just,
CCC.
I'm just thinking about it because I'm here and I wanted to go through it myself to see what we're asking people, and that's a reminder. So I'm just glad to be here. We just got through the budget at the, county
Yes.
level, so it's been a
Congratulations.
very busy, month there. And I am off to my site selection committee, which I think we originally had at 5:30, so I might see if I can get that moved back to
Is that the
5:30.
library?
Yes, it is, I mean, it's for anything that's not the judicial center, which includes the library and the firehouse on the east side and the youth development center and such. So I'm going off to that here momentarily. But again, I don't know if what else is on your agenda, because I haven't seen the agenda, but, in terms of policy, I think, this is my third year on the commission, and I'm understanding more about processes and procedures and lack of institutional knowledge. Now there's 5 people who have been on there for, anyway, I just understand more what's going on here. And so if there are any policy initiatives that you have, I feel like I'm in a better position to sort of help and guide with that.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I have excellent relationship with, Mayor Gertz, who probably would be very open to, getting something done in terms of the environment during these last couple of years of his, being mayor.
Well,
So,
we definitely have some, so currently, or in the past 2 years, I've been on the policy committee and I've been steering it towards really an advisory letter to planning. And then I think we had a meeting with you and Jesse and Commissioner Hall, and they were just saying that whatever we send to planning, that we should also send to mayor and commission. So you would help us be the liaison, like when we develop our letter of suggestions that we think is the direction the policy should go, or at least be explored. You would be our ally, I guess.
yes.
So you would already know about it, and then you could explain to people on the commission that
Mhm.
this is good.
And that's good because it ties in with my environmental energy role
Excellent,
in the
yes.
commission as well. And you all are aware, Matthias probably aware, he's over there in the planning department, but the future land use plan is coming up as well. And I don't know how that integrates with what you all have your eyes on. Or so that's something just to find out if there's anything in there, because there is, the question about housing and the need for housing. We have a green belt, and I still am not completely confident of the purview of your this council that I'm sitting here with. What is that? Can anyone summarize that for me?
I think,
get
well,
that.
we're here to promote
Trees,
healthy tree cover in Athens-Clarke.
and to keep that nice tree cover that we have, right?
Per our canopy guidelines and resolution, like we have a canopy goal, a
Mhm.
stated canopy goal. And it's education to the community. It's working with like Mike Warden's Department of Sustainability, with landscaping, Jeannie, with operations or what's,
Facilities management.
facilities management, you know, within that. And so overseeing like community trees, like,
Well, so I think
don't
with
ever see
with that future land use map, you know, just sort of, that's coming down the road, there's not a lot of pressure on the commission to, from the environmental sphere and education of the commission on environmental issues. So there's a lot of focus on affordable housing, which of course we need, and housing. And so I think there's going to need to be like weighing weighing the long-term needs of the community from the environmental and the tree area. So I urge you to be thinking long-term about that role. And I always, emphasize to people that we commissioners all need education. Not just because there are so many issues. I think I may have said this before because I say this all the time. It's like, I thought there'd be 20 issues. I'm making numbers up, and there's like 250 issues. So it's like, learn about this, learn about that all the time. So it's not something where people are at fault. We're at fault for not knowing. It's just that there's so much. So I think of your role and commission roles as has an education role, not only for the public, but also for the commission. I don't know if that's what the county manager, how he would explain it, but I do
Our
think that's important.
original, mission was to act as like in the old literature is like to act as an advisory board,
Mhm.
to steer the policy.
Mhm.
That was kind of, and to help maintain the existing canopy and improve it. One thing we discovered with Rodney's big, eye tree survey study was that compared to other cities our size, our canopy is quite extensive.
Yes, I remember that.
Like,
That's
it's
very
awesome.
impressive. Yeah.
And I think about it a little differently because when I look around, a lot of the trees we have are really small and it's kind of, areas that I would say may need to be thinned from a forestry standpoint. But nevertheless, what they're doing for carbon is important and valuable and great. So I think like we sort of rebranded the tree council with, a new website and logo and have started to think about the overall mission needs to be, I don't know if I think it would take some work to change what it is, but you're not the only one to be sort of unclear about what the overall mission is. We got really interested in planting more trees for a few years, my first few years on the council, but that's actually stated nowhere in our mission that we would try to plant more trees in Canada. I mean, in the county, but I do think that it's a great time to define that and make it promoted, which I've been kind of messing around with some new promotional materials, but to make it stated clearly while you all are addressing this land use issue.
And that's
make sure
still,
that the canopy
Yeah.
is maintained at the very least, if not.
And the education on that, I know that, like, I just was speaking at our last meeting about the Barber Street bike lane sidewalk project and connecting that to, like, it sounds really basic, but to be able to make sure that my colleagues know that this is not just about getting people in spandex so that they can get around more safely. It's about alternative, transportation for people, that there are a lot of people who don't have cars. And there were people who came and spoke on that, but, I added in this other thing where I ended up feeling a little bit like, I don't know, it's just like a crazy subject. I said, here's the project drawdown book on how to reduce carbon. And this is bike lanes, this and that, and tying it to all these different subjects. I knew that when I was on the SPLOST 2005, which was 20 years ago, and knew much less. And there was a lot of focus on green space and green space acquisition at the same time as we were spending a lot of money on stormwater. There's just like this millions and millions of dollars. And I know for me, like, I did not know the role of green space in other than making things green and pretty, I mean, it didn't take much. I could figure it out once someone pointed out, but in terms of runoff and so forth. So I think that that connection of the green space for many of my colleagues, that's education that I did 20 years ago and have been going on. I think for a lot of people, they'd be going green space. Well, it's nice, it's pretty,
Yeah, it's
and
an
maybe it has shade, but in terms of the environment, but also in terms of stormwater and the essential role that that has. So I would just say that that education role is really key.
So in terms of action items that we can do, would it be helpful for us to send a letter to the commission saying these are the things that we think you really need to consider?
And
Or,
I don't know some of the newer commissions now do you guys bring like a work plan forward for the year?
no,
Okay, so some of the newer commissions that we're setting up, one of the things is annual present, an annual work plan. Now, I don't want to like get your hopes up. I'm not quite sure everyone reads the annual work plan, but it's there and then there's a review. So we're getting that from some of I know that's like in the Athens in Motion plan, and there's probably something else, like so that there's a chance to communicate what's going on. And that's helpful for me, or let's say someone else like Jesse, who's very amenable to what the tree council stands for, to have that to
As a
refer
reader.
to.
right, and we do an annual report, but
Oh, you do have an annual report.
we do
right?
have an annual
The
report.
president sends it in.
President sends it in, so,
Where do you send it to?
They just send it to the mayor and commission, so it goes
Okay,
goes to Jean's
okay,
office.
right,
and
right,
then
right, I
it's
remember that's
distributed.
one I felt
Right.
guilty and I responded to
That-
more.
Okay.
Okay.
Piggyback on Mary Attaway too, like for me personally, like the tree study, which was great, and shows us like our, where we are. Most of our canopy is on private land.
Mhm.
And as the pressure to develop, which won't go away, continues, like it's been very urgent and important to me to talk with planning and think about like the building policy is out of balance in the built and
Mhm.
grown environment. And so trying to increase the awareness, like you're talking about, of the importance of the grown environment being part of the building process,
Mhm.
is what I focus on for policy pretty
And-
much.
And on that, and what Pam was saying, I mean, maybe it would be useful to just, I've been thinking a little bit about how to articulate what we are and what our goals are, in pamphlet form or on website form, like even if the commission was to get an updated definition of what it is we're trying to accomplish in general, even if it's not like specific,
And
or maybe this
I
could
mean,
be added into.
yeah, I come from kind of like an activist perspective here, like thinking about this, because I was in the Athens in Motion Commission, but again, this sounds so obvious now, but it's like these relationships with people make all the difference. So, having someone, I mean, like we have 3 new commissioners, and I know that Manager Williams, I was talking to him the other day, and he was like, I think that, the fact that you and Jesse are so much for, like looking out for the interests of the stormwater and the pipes, that's not usually what progressives go after, but he says, I think those visits that we did made all the difference. And I think they did make a big difference, but we didn't have anything that specifically focused on, like, I don't know if the sustainability office, like that one doesn't stick out in my memory, like, and the trees in particular and canopy. So I would recommend, like we got 3 new commissioners who just went through all these departments, and to see if there's a way, like, I want to explain to meet up, like have 2 of you meet up with a commissioner and say, hey, I want to explain what the tree council does, why the trees are important. It's not just that, just have a coffee kind of thing so someone can reach out to you. It makes all the difference, so that when like something comes up and you're looking at this and it's like, oh my goodness, who should I call? Well, before becoming a commissioner, I didn't know any people in the homeless like services, and I was a little proactive, like I reached out to them and had those coffees. But now I can like call one of them and say, does this make sense? Is this the right direction we're going on? So having someone I wasn't necessarily thinking about trees, like homelessness has gotten a lot more, there's a lot more play in there. So, but reaching out, I think that that's a good thing to do. I know with the Athens in Motion
commission before I was commissioner, and when there was a plan, like I went and met with. Like, I don't know what the manager's office was thinking, but I mean, I was chair, and I went and met with each commissioner and went over the plan and just had a conversation with them. So I would recommend that as well, because I think the tree stuff is, there's a lot. Anyway, I apologize.
With the other commissioners, and you know them better than we do, but like if we did like a, like in their neighborhood, like if it's like Mateo and somebody from the board, like if we do a walk and talk, and like, so that, because there's something too, like physically, like.
Oh, yes, yeah,
being
yeah,
attentive, like,
I would
If
definitely,
if you walk in the neighborhood, like, you know, you drive by the trees all the time, but if you, when you physically walk, you're like, oh, yeah, like, there's this whole stand of trees here, or there's no trees here.
I would
Why aren't there any trees here?
definitely say that, and I'll use this as an example with, Commissioner Taylor, Tiffany Taylor, who, you know, we had this vote on the Barber Street bike thing, and it was very uncertain which way it was going, and it still may be uncertain down the line, but we got through this one. Anyway, I have good connections with Georgia Cycle Sport, because I've bought bikes there over the years and such. But they'll lend me out an e-bike. So she met me at Georgia Cycle with her 15-year-old son. We did this 2.5-hour tour on the Greenway and everything else. She loved it. I didn't really push her on like Barber Street or biking. I was just holding back. I was like, let me just have the experience. And Tuesday night, come to the Barber meeting, and she's like, wow, like I didn't really, before this, I really didn't understand why the streets need bike lanes, but like, or biking or what it was. And it was like, that was so fantastic, and mentioned this bike ride, and it had a real impact. So I think actually doing the neighborhood thing would actually work really well. You can start with me, and then that'd be helpful.
I think the early step, like you were saying, achieving the goal of maintain our tree canopy, we achieved it. So it's like, now what's next? And part of the tree council is for education, but at the same time, how are we going to maintain what we do have? How do we thin out those areas that you've mentioned, and how do we remove the hazards?
Yeah. And then it's
And
like,
I like that, with your idea with that, getting into the
yeah, and
different
it's like the
districts.
transportation, like what did I know about pavement before? I gotta make big decisions about pavement all the time. A lot of, like, I didn't know about the life cycle of pavement. I didn't know how to maintain it. I didn't know how the like wiggly lines versus like whatever else. So I mean, trees, you know, I'm here, but you could teach me a lot.
Well, you can continue to be our advocate
Yeah.
within the commission,
Yeah.
but we'll also.
Well, I think what Carol is saying is we need to create
More
more, it's just her
opportunities.
as an advocate.
Right, well,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
One way to do that is going into the neighborhoods and showing people what can be done, what needs to be done, or what we think is important in the way of
Or we could
trees
just show
and
them that
in your neighborhood.
Yeah. And there was a mention the other thing about trees the other day, you know, and I don't know how this, like in terms of environmental justice and, you know, I don't know if there's grants and money out
and
there
that's-
for
well, that's-
shade trees
so-
and such.
We don't get to be on the trendy side of homelessness and housing. Our end has been, for our end of picking up that trend, is we've just been working on grant stuff for, so what we're looking at is like, we have traditional holes in our canopy of places where there's no trees, and that's no surprise they're in underserved, poor neighborhoods that have been developed in a way that is not conducive to natural plantings, and there's been nothing to come along to fill that in.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out how to get trees there. It's pretty slow going, but
Yeah.
we're working on it.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of trees. It was interesting the other day. I was riding my bike back from the east side, and I was like, should I go all the way up to Kirsch Lane and go out and up to Barnett Shoals is where the gas station is, and then go up there to the Publix intersection, or should I get out on College Station? And my gut feeling was I'm going to get out on College Station, and I was like, why am I doing that? And actually, the reason why I'm doing that is because when I'm on Barnett Shoals, this time of year, it's hot. It's very hot. I gotta climb up. In College Station, I had to go up a hill, but there's more trees. It just feels more pleasant. So, you know, that was just a tree self-observation. All right.
Has the education committee typically kind of been that role? I'm not familiar
Is
with.
there, Is it defunct now?
No, it's not much.
Okay, it's going on.
Yeah, for the public, but never for the commission.
Yeah, I think that's been our focus is on
Public, yeah.
the public and not on the commission, but those are great
But yeah.
comments and
Yeah.
ideas.
We invite commissioners to things, especially like when we do the plannings, whatever commissioner's district that is, they get invited, but it's pretty low attendance because they just don't know. I mean, they just don't know where we are. And so they get invited to a lot.
Okay, well, good, thank you for that.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Jeannie probably has an answer about the boards.
Oh, I don't need that. I mean, yeah, the board's authority training. I was just curious.
Oh, it's
whether-
on Take Aim. That was one thing I was gonna talk to her about.
it's-
No.
Yeah, I was
um,
asking about that.
I received an email last week from PIO office. I need for everybody, you're gonna be getting a county email. This goes to the boards and authority commissions. That way, one, it will open up the transparency of any communications we're having in case, someone wants to open records. But, I will ask for your first name, last name, it's a form to fill out, and you'll get an ACC Gov email for correspondences. And we'll also give you access to our Take Aim site. And there's instructional videos if you have questions about the roles and responsibilities as well, and the training of the do's and
Will you
don'ts.
email that out to us on our old emails for now?
Actually, I'm just going to take your information and then
Little
I know it's
tiny
really
line.
tiny. I'm sorry. I tried to enlarge it, but it didn't work. But yes, the PIO office will be sending you the email that will have and it's pretty much your choice. It's your first name, last name, and then ACC Gov,
Okay.
and it goes that way.
I'm assuming that once this is put in place, all our communications that have.
They prefer it to be
regard
that way,
to the
yes.
council.
And is the training required for existing back members or is it for just?
They ask everyone to watch all the videos.
See, that's the ask.
I know, it's the ask that you
It's
do,
the
watch
ask
all
that
the
you-
training.
You're gonna be kicked off if you don't do
You want
that.
to sign that?
Do you
Oh,
know when or
oh,
if
sorry.
there's gonna be additional meetings on the land use as far as is it still too early in
Well, I think
planning?
it's still too early. We're all.
Okay.
I wonder
Because
if
I think
it's
that
gonna
will
happen
play
in
up
the
a lot and be a
library.
lot of guidance falling through that.
Okay, let me get over to
Yeah,
that
that's
library
fine.
meeting.
Your
Yeah,
next one?
Yeah.
Have a
All
good
right, well,
day.
thank you for
Thanks for
coming.
coming.
Thank you.
All right, do you have anything else that you need to add or?
No, just
Great.
that is one thing I do have to get with everybody.
Okay, that's fine. Are we just gonna hand that
Yeah.
around during the meeting? It's fine. Okay, so that we're to committee reports. Usually we have the executive committee first, but I don't know, we haven't
We haven't
met.
met in a long, I mean, I've never met.
No, we haven't met. I don't think there's.
There's
any-
never been one that I'm aware of. I
not-
mean, there have
not-
been in the past,
Right,
but not.
this year. So,
No.
so we will just say that there's no executive meeting this month. What should we do next? There's, I guess policy, go ahead. I know you
Okay,
got,
policy.
so.
Yeah, so
go ahead.
policy, we pivoted and we're trying to put in the federal grant. And we didn't quite make it, but all the information we accumulated in the writing that we did will not go to waste. Mateo is gonna take this information, we're gonna keep polishing it up and we're gonna turn it into the state grant. And so that would be 300,000 for 3 years is what we're going for. So it is a big pivot. It's a different, we were talking about earlier, we had our meeting just before this meeting, so it's fresh, but we were saying that we feel like if we can get this kind of funding, it'll free us up from education then we can work on education in a way that doesn't have to be like the community financing. Like if we can get a grant like this, then we can really focus more on just like education specifically for groups that we need to target or for general public. So I think it would be a really good thing for the committee if it sort of takes some of the pressure off the planting funds. And and then it
How
would
would you
focus.
spend that for education, you think?
Oh, we wouldn't be able to spend the money for education, but then like our education and like our fundraising, like we don't have to be worried about like, do we charge $5 for the sticker or
Yeah.
do we have to have a fundraiser?
Money in the bank,
Does the
yeah.
pre-ID have to also be, a fundraiser? We would know that we had this money to do like these plantings. And that would be our planting focus, and then we can use our energy, for other things and didn't have to be raising money.
That'd be good.
I
What's the
have
name of the grant?
Trees across Georgia.
Yeah,
is the pass-through funding for
Yeah.
the Georgia Forestry Commission.
And so far, Mateo will probably speak to this more, that like the funding is a little bit more open, and that like with the federal money, like we can't, like, one thing we're looking at with this is to make sure that baked in is watering and maintenance, which will be a significant part of the money spent, actually, more than the plantings initially. And so that, I think it maybe end up being easier to do it with the state money than the federal money. So
It's nice that they're paying for that, because usually they pay for the trees and then you're on.
if,
the
yeah,
hook for
I mean,
everything else.
and the burden will fall on us to make sure that we write it and that we're asking, that we're.
For that.
Yeah, that we're clear that the money goes to that too. So, and then if they say yes, and it's clear that we're also using the money for that. So the burden's on us to make sure they know that.
Is that the same grant that we've applied for in the past through the Forestry Commission?
I think it's a
I
different
think it's a
one.
different one, but I'm
Yeah.
not 100%
Sounds like
positive,
three.
Mary. If you know that one, we'll look it up.
What's that read?
Relief from maintenance shade.
Yeah.
Maybe they.
Yeah, those are
Take
separate
the-
ones. So
Okay.
Trees Across Georgia is specifically the funding that they got through the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, so it's new money.
Okay.
And Georgia Forestry Commission got one of the largest pass-through funding amounts of any state forestry commission. I think more
So,
than 300 million,
Wow.
or I think it was 300
awesome.
million.
so that would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they'll give 300,000 per year, up to 3 years.
So, no, so, and asking for it, of course, I mean, they may look at that and say that that's 150,000 for 2 years, like, so we'll be, when we turn it in, there's a little bit of, but whatever they get, it'll be the largest, of course, that we've asked for, but again, I mean, I think we have if we can organize this ask, I think we'll have the capacity to do this.
So there's a 2-year window on it, is what you're saying?
3 years.
3 year,
But we
okay.
don't know what they will actually grant us, but
Okay.
we were going to ask for, the large amount for 3 years, and then we'll see what they think is possible.
Maybe they'll come back and
Yeah,
say.
yeah. So, because, I mean, they may look at it and think like, you guys are crazy, you don't have the capacity to get this done, and we'll be like, okay, fine. But
Did you
like, we're gonna
use some
try.
of the wording from some of the previous grants? Like, is it based on
No, we haven't.
underserved neighborhoods?
Oh, what is that? Yeah, and so, we haven't touched very little. We looked at everything, and then, and it's the same, it's a lot of the same sources of information, but no, we pretty much, restructured and started right from scratch, and that, and
Did you have to delegate money, like how you're
yes.
spend chunks?
Mhm.
Yeah, we haven't
Still doing that.
had the budget all written out quite yet, but the application requirements for the Trees Across Georgia is far less stringent than the federal competitive
The
one.
federal one required a lot of, what we're working at, what I was working on for the month in Mateo too, was, the, relationship with the housing authority. Like, they needed very clear parameters of like how that worked and what the buy-in was and what that structure was and who, the land ownership, who owns it. So it was a lot of the relationship between the housing and, but there was a breakdown for them. So that,
That sounds great.
Mateo's had a lot of
Hey.
conversations with the state, and they're like.
Mateo, I think you said that the GFC was enthusiastic and encouraging about supply.
Yeah, I was at a conference and Seth Hawkins approached me and was asking me about the project. He heard about it, I guess, probably through Holly, because she was there as well. So they definitely seem amenable to that project.
Great. Well, thank you for doing that.
So, and when we finish this, well, now that we've pivoted, and this will be a fall application, September, October, we're not exactly sure when the deadline is. But we are going to pivot back to, we had been compiling a letter that go to planning and the mayor and commission, and we'll bring that around, but that has been shelved for the last month, so I haven't touched it, so it's in the same place it was. So I'll
Right.
talk about it. So
That's
we'll
fine.
pick that back up and
Yeah.
get back to that.
That's fine.
That's it.
All right, great. Let's see, education, anything on education?
So we received an email from Holly, confirming that we're still active, and we are. I think we need to meet soon. On your suggestion that talk about our next event. You mentioned forest bathing again.
forest bathing.
Another forest bathing event. That was really nice. I liked that.
Yeah. I know Athens-Clarke County is doing one as well for like ACC for Athens-Clarke County employees.
Nice.
It's on their wellness schedule. I just saw it today. So, I mean, it is something that's popular for sure.
That's
We
great.
can invite the commission to.
Well, that's, yeah,
That's
so
true.
it would be nice to do some tree walks with
Yeah.
maybe just one commissioners, maybe that would make them.
Yeah.
So if they all come together.
It might be best to do that in fall. With the
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
miserable outside.
Right.
Or maybe
yeah.
we should do it in summer and be like.
This is why we need
It'd be a lot nicer, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be so hot.
Alright.
We're gonna go to this neighborhood and we're gonna hop in a van
Alright.
and go over to this
Well,
neighborhood.
good. It sounds like some things are going on.
Take a thermometer with you.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else from education?
I think we need to
Okay.
talk
Yeah,
about. the
talk
next
about when we
meeting.
can meet.
All
there.
right, that sounds great. That's
Uh,
it.
Jeannie, when will the new email correspondence take place?
I am supposed to get this back to PIO as fast as I can. Like I said, they just sent it out last week. But once he has the information together into the IT department, they'll be sending out emails to everyone.
Do you have to have the whole council's information before? you
No,
submit
because I
it?
told him it was going to
Okay.
be a slow to gather.
Okay.
I would gather as much as I could
So you
tonight
can
and get
submit it
them,
piecemeal?
yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Can
so.
could you just create and then let people know what their emails are?
Yeah, all I really need from everybody, because I've got your first and last names, your personal emails, we already have that. I have your phone numbers. I know the end date of your appointments. I just need to know what you would like your desired email to be. And I mean, the standard for all of us employees is, like I said, our first name, period, then our last name. And I could submit it like that if everyone agrees. You're okay with that, unless you wanted something special?
No.
Okay, I'll go ahead and submit everybody's that's here tonight, and then,
I say do everybody's.
well, I had to kind of make sure that they know about it, so I just had to touch base. They're like going, what's this?
Like spam.
Yeah, the delete, so, but
This is coming, yeah.
Told you it's better to ask forgiveness.
you know, that's something I really get upset with my own staff about, so no.
All right, let's see. Next on here, I have promotions.
Yeah, we need to meet. I have brainstormed, started coming up with some pamphlets on my own, but I need to see.
Okay, so
with
I just get it correct how
Jessie
you want it.
serving
Okay.
as president, if she still wants to be, we have a low, Lori seems overwhelmed. Sarah's not really attending anymore. So it's kind of,
Okay.
you know, yeah, anyway, so I need to send out an email and really gauge how much.
Okay, well, it sounds
We
like
need
there
to
would be some
recruit
need for
people.
that to put
Yeah.
something together for the commissioners and so on.
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, that sounds great. Trees for tomorrow, is there any sub meeting for that? Okay. Champion and landmark trees work group. We still have that, or is that? This is the agenda from January, so.
Right. It's been pretty inactive.
Okay. We've already heard about grants and fundraising. How many people are rotating off at the end of this year? Do you have?
I don't have that
It's
list
the-
in front of me. It's in the
Three.
back.
We probably need to start thinking about who we might want to invite, or how we're gonna advertise it, because it always comes up at the last minute, and then we submit too late for the commissioners to vote on, and so people always end up starting late. And it'd
We
be
have
nice to,
3 that are rotating off, and then, Patrick
Patrick left.
left, so we have 4.
Yeah,
places.
yeah, that's true, board replace, yeah.
Who's rotating on?
Patrick, oh, who's rotating on? It's,
I think I got two. Whatever Phil has, I have.
Yes.
We're on the same schedule.
oh, I think I have it on.
Let's say 1.
For the champion trees also, that, I think it was that we were, Jeannie was getting that
Yeah, this
list
is good.
sort of cleaned up, and we were trying to figure out like, what we needed to start again was to make sure, like, probably just a retool on using the data collector.
Right.
And then, maybe a retraining if there's new, hunting partners wanting to do it. But we also, I think we've lost track of which trees we've checked on the list and which ones still need to be done. So we need a fresh
I
list.
think we
before
were
we-
hoping for a good clean translation to,
Also, yeah, where the heck are they?
away from that. Is that
Land.
land?
Right.
That-
That
That
land plane
is
or
a
something.
really tough way to,
Well, for me, I'm like, yeah.
it took me a while to even learn how to do
I
it. And
don't
then
know what happened.
sometimes they're based on different scalars, so it can
What we
be,
need is a lat line GPS point
yeah.
generator of some sort.
So I think that was the hiccup in we were growing like gangbusters. I know we have at least a third, if not half of the trees have been accounted for. I do not know if all of that collection has been, I mean, I don't know if all that data made it.
I've got an Excel spreadsheet.
Rob was pretty good about putting
Yeah.
it in. We got to
Also
do
be
it
an
because he
art.
wanted to go back and check every one of them.
Yes,
Verify that.
Of course it did.
yeah.
Didn't trust it.
What is the tree on, the Piedmont Preserve that is a champion?
Well, we don't know if it's champion yet, but it was, I thought it was a tulip poplar. Was it?
I've never,
it was a tulip.
Yeah.
I've seen a picture of that tree.
Yeah.
where is
And
it?
so it's
I
not,
found it
it's
the
not,
other day.
it's not the tulip poplar on the list, but,
I think it's quite far, or maybe along the property edge, maybe for a while.
Sure is this.
is that, and, so that also might be a fun, like, if we find a champion tree that's sort of accessible, like, that might be a very fun
Yeah.
commissioner, like, if we invite the commissioner
You
who's,
come and see the championship.
yeah, come help us measure it, because I know I've co-opted some Eagle Scouts and stuff like that.
It's better off.
They'll hold the tape, that's my job usually.
Yeah.
Phil's one. Not-
Get
not-
recorded
not
to come
for the
too,
hype.
that'll come, right?
Yeah.
You get the Boy Scouts to walk around through the poison ivy.
Exactly. Yeah, all the-
Is that what I am, a Boy Scout?
that you were.
Well, I think I
Okay,
saw
it's
that- I
just
think I
that.
saw
Well, that sounds like that
picture
needs
in
more.
Laurel.
There's some things there that could be done, so.
Yeah, I've got a number of different champion tree lists. I've got a folder with it and I've got an Excel file and yeah, they don't always match up. But
And some of them on that list are no longer in existence.
Yeah.
Right.
Certain that we
And,
verified.
yeah, we definitely verified that, like a lot of them, yes. It doesn't work.
That was one thing that Shelley was working on before she left.
Right.
was it?
Mhm. So we can look onto the, we should be able to look onto the, GIS listing.
Okay.
There's a state champions list and then county champions list and then just world teacher.
I think that Georgia Oak you told me about is a national champion.
Right, yeah,
So
across the street.
yeah, it's right there.
Right.
What is that, the Georgia?
From Mac.
Oh, yeah, well, we planted that. That's Max.
It's good that Georgia has the national champion of it, Georgia Oak.
I'm surprised South Carolina didn't come down and dig it up.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's across the street from his office.
Close. Private.
His address is on Lexington Road.
They didn't like tear it, they didn't tear it down when they were building a new building.
Hopefully not. Who all is on the champion landmark?
We were just the hunters.
I love.
It is,
I know,
it is a good
time.
We call it a working group.
It's called a working group, it's not a regular committee.
And, we had been doing like, Friday afternoon, like 2 or 3, when, we, not during the summer, we did it, spring, things leafing out, or it's, I learned so much about trees and measuring them and just tree species by doing this. It's ton of fun, but one thing I learned was it's super hard to measure the canopies in the summer. Can't tell what's what.
Can't see which ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Projecting up
Yeah.
and where they.
I'll just add y'all 5 onto a email list. I can send you the Excel file that I have and whatever other documentation I've got. And I don't expect y'all to do it in the summer, but we can start it. whenever y'all want to.
I need some orientation again.
That how to use that
Do
collector.
you remember?
It's like, it's like knitting. I can cast on, I can't cast off. Forget that.
Well, maybe at some point y'all can just meet and go over it
We
again.
had sort of a cheat sheet at one
Yeah, I
point
had it.
that-
So-
I've got a
I
cheat
have
sheet
no
for
idea where
the-
that cheat sheet is.
for the locator or the
Yeah.
GPS unit.
I still have it on my phone, so I still have the app.
Honestly, I mean, Google like a pin
Yeah.
is pretty
Pretty accurate,
nice. I
yeah.
mean, I've created my own like tree list,
Yeah,
of,
we
like
dropped-
foraging spots like
We
that.
mostly use the collector because that was it was a very accessible way for Rodney to have the data and then put it in. And so that's what, but we'll use, however you want us to collect the data that's useful for you to update the list, we'll use whatever works for you.
I've yet to try that either.
Simple.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's easy.
Drop the
What- what
pen,
is it?
yeah,
Just Google.
Google.
Everyone apps.
yeah.
Make a list of pin sites.
That's what I do when I do legal work. If I'm trying to find a location for lat long, I use Google.
Yeah, it's pretty
It
spot
works
on.
Pretty well.
That works once you've found it, but if we're
Well, yeah,
using
if you-
the old records to go to these things to verify.
That's
that's
true.
gonna
That's
get
harder.
complicated.
Yeah.
That plans stuff.
Should we put a call out, like, for people to be on the lookout or to let us know if they have big trees on their property?
So I feel like that if we can get through this list that we have that's so old and really like, after we get through this list, there are already like gaping holes of trees that people definitely have that we can be like, hey, anyone think they have the champion?
It would help if you had a good list before
Right.
you start
So
that.
if before we ask, but yeah, that, I mean, I can't wait to do that, to have promotions put out in the community.
Be a
Think
fun
you've got a
thing to do on
champion
social
tree, you
media.
know, and then I would
Yeah.
love to go start measuring what people think is a big tree in their yard. But we really need to make this list clean,
Get
to
through
know what we have and we
Mhm.
don't have.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, put that on for somebody to work on more in the fall. Okay, are there any other groups that have not reported that want to? I can't think of any other ones. There's nothing else on here, but don't wanna,
But I have one thing to add about the Ren Allen visit after, it's not a.
Okay. okay, that's fine. Any other discussion items for the group?
So for Ren and the money that the, yeah, her group is called, champion.
Founders Tree Trail.
Founders Tree Trust, yeah. I was hoping that we could, identify 3 sites that might be potential sites for the specific honor planting for the donation money for Mrs. Houston, for Marion Hodgson. And, one of which I think, I mean, one could easily be the Welcome Center, probably the 2 other sites. To give Ren the option to choose which site she would think would be the most appropriate for. And if none of those, I mean, if she strikes them all, then I'm sure we could find it. But I would hope that we could talk about, you know, a list and narrow it down to 3 in the August meeting, and then maybe have Ren back in September to show her the options, to sort of move along to make sure, you know, it's not shelved, and then if she accepts one that, or she goes back and talks to her people and, or whatever process she needs to go through and she accepts one, then we can begin to formalize the process of accepting those funds. But that's a timeline we think is doable for us.
So would we need like a subcommittee to help identify that, or is that something you just do in Mateo, or?
It's been discussed at subcommittee,
Work group.
a work group,
A work group,
the work
yeah.
group was discussed, but I mean, I feel like we're so stretched thin as far as like, if we can just as a committee, maybe,
Throw out a couple ideas.
yeah,
What about
and
the
that
Linden
could be through
House?
our official emails. I mean, whatever you think is like,
That
Linden
came
House,
up a
like,
couple of years ago,
Yeah.
as being a potential.
Well,
site.
even when Red was here, she mentioned the Welcome Center
Yeah.
as one possibility, but we also did talk about the Linden.
so I
access.
say we throw all those things in through our official email channels and we have the list to talk about August. And I don't think it necessarily has to be a subcommittee. I mean, if you can think of a spot that would be, you think would
Yeah, just a committee
represent.
as a whole, just talking about it.
It does seem like, just in the nature of like who she was, that it'll probably be more accepted if it's like the west side, probably more in town. It seems like that was the old stomping grounds that they were planting in, so it's probably not gonna be east side, probably not rural or parks, but that's just that's a gut
No,
feeling.
but I already have a couple sites on
Right,
down.
yeah.
Okay,
Road park's not funny anymore.
so,
It was funny for a couple of years. Yeah,
Perennial.
it's the worst.
I've had perennial, that's-
right. Okay, any other Thank you. The last item for discussion is whether or not we have a July meeting, because often we have skipped in July. I don't see anything that's really pressing that we need to discuss next month. What do you think?
We have our new emails. Chat online.
So exciting.
Sunshine.
I would move to suspend the July meeting, and pick up again in August.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Anybody dying to meet in July?
Suck up a little air conditioning.
All right, well, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, well, so we'll be meeting again in August and we'll take up the idea of the legacy, for the tree thing for Rin. And at that meeting, we need to start to get serious about looking for people for next year. If you know of people, we don't, I mean, we can advertise, but we can find, if you know people that you think would be good, we could start asking.
And I feel like word of mouth is way more successful.
With advertising, we've got some very odd characters.
Yeah.
Hi, Tom John.
Like I said.
Well, we've gotten some good odd.
I didn't say odd was
We've
bad.
got some that show up. Where's Joe?
Okay, well, that's
So,
fine.
can I ask you real quick, before we wrap up?
Sure.
So would schools be like eligible for the, you know,
I feel like we could present, I mean, I feel like we could present, I mean, that's why I was saying like 3 options. I feel like we should develop like a list of 10 options. Then as a committee, discuss what we think the top 3 are. And I just say 3 from like, not just from my professional career. If you give a client more than 3 options, the head kind of explodes. And so out of 5 options, you pick 3 you like, they'll pick the one you like least. And that's how that's just from a professional,
Right.
those numbers just come from my professional experience of giving people choices.
Sure.
right?
I bet it's gonna be long.
Would it be worthwhile to do, some looking into Ms. Hudson's, history in the community? I mean, we know that she set up the Family Tree Trust, but what we might not know is what
Is there a
school
really
she might
special-
have had, she and her family might have had a close relationship to, or
Yes,
places in the
is she
community.
related to Judge Barrett?
Yeah, where would the plaque most likely be put?
Yeah, and Clark Middle School about to have a big renovation.
That's true,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think anything's
Yeah.
off the table, but I think that's a really good idea to look
Wherever
into
we
what would
put
be
it, we have to
appropriate.
have permission.
I know, you know, like my son, is on, CCS, well, Timothy Road Elementary, soccer team.
Mhm.
So in playing, you know, like I essentially took a tour of some of the different schools and playing in away games and stuff. And there's some schools out there pretty good in terms of.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
What do you notice? The most.
Like Whitehead.
Whitehead, yeah.
And we've,
Corny Harris Lions in the middle school.
yeah,
That's
Right
all.
on that.
I mean, they're all, you're playing in some, they're.
And their survival rate is like, they think they're Rotaries. What I learned about that was, somebody I'm gonna recruit for the tree council, Jeremy's wife. She's all on fire about that. So they thought they were not their responsibility, so they didn't water them. And so, and then we didn't know that they were our responsibility, so we didn't water them, so they died.
Oh.
And so there was a gap of information. And also just schools in general, like I know in the past we've done planting in schools, but maybe we have a more comprehensive tree council idea of interacting with schools.
Yeah,
we
you know,
used to.
so, you know, we, yeah, I don't know, I think, Georgia Forestry Commission making shade.
Oh,
plants, you know, and Seth very politely said that, yeah, you guys probably aren't eligible.
We've done that.
At least for a while, he said you need to sit out.
That's a good point, yeah, because, yeah, you know, like,
'Cause we can't-
in some cases, we were the only ones flying.
Right.
Like unfairness, so, but, if we weren't eligible, worthwhile thing to consider.
And, just go ahead and, so that when, as we're thinking about it, I'm gonna email her. We really want to, we're looking into sites we think would be appropriate, and we'd love to learn more about
Yeah, that'd be great.
the event there, so that she knows we're thinking about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Roger Calvin might be a good person to talk to as well. I can reach out to him. 'Cause he knew her as well, and he and Ren are the last members. So.
Okay. All right.
I agree, we need to stay moving on that, because time come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gracious enough
And it
to
was-
offer.
It's her second time, and so she apparently did it before, and it's just one of those things that can just easily sit on the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
We should-
I don't want it to sit on the table, but it's like,
Especially if they want to give you some money and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, your old money."
well, and luckily, it doesn't have nowhere to go, but like, still, I think we should go ahead and absorb that.
Right.
And we
No,
can- and maybe
Take it
we
off
can
her
use some, like,
hands.
schools or- Like, once we get the funds outside of this planting, she did not put any restrictions on how we feel we need to use the money. So if we feel like that's our coffers for schools for the
Yeah.
next couple of years, or.
How much money is it?
It's 12,000, and probably 2,000 or 3,000 will go to, I mean, I don't know, maybe it'll be less than that.
Memorial.
To the
plant
memorial.
for her.
So we'll have the remainder of the money, we
For
can
trees.
do with, as long as it fits in our council mission, or, and that she felt like those missions were similar enough that it's for the good of the community. So if we decide that we want that to go for schools, I feel like that would be something we can discuss moving forward, but, first we have to get the money.
The school thing has proved to be somewhat complicated.
Yeah,
It's not easy.
yeah, I know. And we
I
are.
mean, they want like a landscape,
Well,
design.
we're in a new time with sort of a new superintendent and the new facilities, like Dr. Oskey's new to facilities
Yeah.
for the board, and we have new board members. So if we can, I think we can rebuild that relationship.
It was really cool working with Seth. He was, very open to being arborist, very open to, and, placement.
Well, I feel like, I don't feel like it wasn't that way when they went Chase.
Okay, yeah. So, and I'm speaking of
And that's all, and now it's like all new people.
yeah.
Yeah, they did come and paint, lines and all that, but it was pretty much like. Shoot.
It seemed to be pretty streamlined.
When Patrick and I looked into it the year before last, that was what we were, they wanted a landscape plan. And us to meet with facilities. Which is doable, but it was different.
Showing where you.
Yeah.
Propose the
Yeah.
trees.
And that would be site specific, I mean, any, I mean, we have to.
We'd have to have the site first.
Yeah, so yeah, if we have to get the site, yeah, we're gonna have.
Thanks.
Anything else? We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second that?
Okay.
Oh,
I guess I made the first.
Yes, you made the.
I will move. We adjourn. All right, all in favor, say aye. I'm not even gonna ask if anybody's opposed.
You want me to leave yours as Pam or Pamela?
Pam.
Just leave it as Pam, okay.
And Yvette is good, not Sally, if that's what you're asking.
Well,
That's
your
what
last, you want it Tyson, I don't know if they're gonna cut the character short, I don't know if they'll let it go all the way through with the lane hyphen or whatnot. If they do wanna shorten it, do you have a preference which way it
Yeah,
goes?
just do walk on.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I said it wrong, I apologize. but I'll put it in as lane walk.
Yeah,
And
you
I
can
could
try
really
it
put
that
it
way, and if
Yep.
it doesn't work, just take the lane off.
Okay,
Yeah,
I just want to make sure,
Okay.
in case I get asked.
Okay.
Awesome. That's it.
Oh, okay.
And I will send emails. Is Ernie gonna be a part of this?
I
group?
don't know.
I'm gonna send everyone else who's not here tonight, I'll send them an email.
And, yeah, and I do.
That's all I can do.
And it does seem like Tori's schedule too, like I don't think she realized when she signed up, like she's in constant conflict with.
With
just
her
'cause of
court
schedule,
dates,
yeah.
yep.
I have one quick question for you. We talked about policy.
Thanks, folks.
Mhm.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
it's good